There we go.
Now you can go ahead.
No, now I was going to have you read that lovely statement for
the group. Sure. So welcome to the Wednesday, May 5th, 2021 meeting of the Gloucester Conservation Commission. Consistent with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than now 100 people, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation to the greatest extent possible. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time. Persons who wish to do so are invited to view the meeting at the link provided on the City of Gloucester Remote Meetings website under the Conservation Commission. In the event that a live transmission proves unworkable for any reason, an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the meeting will be made available on the city's website as soon as possible.
Thank you, Adrian.
You're welcome.
Do you want to do roll call confirmation of attendance?
Sure. For commissioners, Commissioner Charpentier.
Here.
Commissioner Cook.
Here.
Commissioner Gradwell.
Here.
Commissioner Sargent.
Here.
Co-Chairman Gullah.
Here.
And Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Here.
Oh, and a full complement tonight. Thank you.
Nice.
Yes. All right, next up is our administrative briefing. I don't know if you have anything you, other than the mosquito. I couldn't have written it better myself.
Thank you. Good. I'm so pleased to hear that. So the item on the administrative briefing tonight, there are two actually. Well, I suppose I'll skip that and go to this quickly. Just another plug for the Open Space and Recreation Plan update. We did have with the Open Space Committee and in collaboration with the MAPC, which is the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, and it's our regional planning group that serves the North Shore and Gloucester, of course, gave a presentation, which is you can see here on the recording for the community forum, just introducing the public to the planning process for the new open space plan. And then after the forum, it's followed by a survey, which is still open and will be open through May 10th. The link is here. This is on the City of Gloucester Open Space and Recreation Committee website. So you can certainly still participate, provide us some feedback. That would put us actually right here, right here with the virtual open house. And then there will be a committee meeting and then a second open house, another survey, and then we'll be much closer to a draft plan with action items for the public to view and hopefully approve, and we can move forward with the plan itself. So having said that, thank you for my little soapbox. The Conservation Commission was asked by the City Council to make a recommendation on whether or not the City of Gloucester should opt out of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts mosquito spraying program. In the past, the city has very consistently opted out of it and intends to again. This is mostly in the wheelhouse of the Board of Health, and the Board of Health did deliberate and review the opt-out process and also the plan in place and the plan that is intended to be sent forth to the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs for approval as an alternative method for managing mosquitoes in Gloucester, as opposed to aerial and broadcast spraying from a truck. So having said that, I drafted for the commission to approve tonight a memo, which I'm happy to read for you into the record so that the commission may fulfill the request for advisory comment, and I can return this back to council and the mayor to include as part of their opt-out application if they so choose. Would you like me to read it, Chairman Gullah? Then I will. Dear Mayor Romero-Taken and Council President LeBlanc, the Gloucester Conservation Commission is in support of the Board of Health's recommendation that the city opt out of all mosquito control spraying conducted by the State Reclamation and Mosquito Control Board, SRMCB. An alternative mosquito management plan has been provided to the City Council for their consideration, and the Commission encourages the Council to approve this alternative option so that the city may move forward with the opt-out process. The pesticide Anvil 10+10 used in both ground level and aerial spraying can kill fish and other invertebrates, such as honeybees. Broadcast use of this pesticide ends up in our environment, impacting the resources identified in the Wetlands Protection Act and Gloucester Wetlands Ordinance, including public and private water supplies, groundwater supply, land containing shellfish, fisheries, and other wildlife habitat. Consequently, the Gloucester Conservation Commission formally advises the Gloucester City Council to initiate the appropriate actions in order to opt out of all mosquito control spraying conducted by the State Reclamation and Mosquito Control Board, SRMCB. Sincerely, Rob Gullah, Chairman, Gloucester Conservation Commission. So if commissioners would like to make a motion to approve the memo, I will forward it back to City Council, and this matter will be closed for our administrative briefing.
Commissioner Jackson moves to send on the letter regarding recommending opt-out of mosquito spraying in Gloucester to the mayor and to City Council President.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah,
You're muted.
Yes,
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
thank you. Anything else in the administrative briefing section, or we good?
No, I think I took up enough time for tonight.
Okay, next up is the public comment period. This is the period of the meeting where the public is welcome to speak towards conservation issues that are not on tonight's agenda. So if anybody wishes to speak, they may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or tablet.
Okay, so Chairman Gullah, we have 3 hands up right now. I will begin with Mark Nestor. I will allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
I took my hand down. I'm not prepared to comment on public comment.
Oh, okay.
Thank
The next is Mark Poland. I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Hi,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Oh, hi. Okay. My name is Mark Poulin. I live on 84 High Popples Road in Gloucester. I'm also on the Gloucester Open Space Committee with Adrian and Dave. Concern I want to raise tonight is the amount of people taking rocks off the back shore. And it's been happening a lot lately, mostly this last year. People are filling the back of their trunks, coming back from multiple trips, staging them and picking them up after hours. It's something that is just increased this year for some reason. I think maybe with not much to do in the last year, people have been staying local and going out on the property. It's mostly on the city-owned lots, the city-owned inventory. And it's not just picking up a little pet rock or a little heart-shaped rock that you're going to paint. It's filling, people are building rock walls with this stuff or something. And we've mentioned things to people, but we don't really know if this is in the wheelhouse of the Conservation Commission or what the rule is on this and what to say to people. But it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I mean, I don't know if you want to, you have a comment, Adrian, but in general, I would think it's more a city issue than it would be conservation. Unless they were really like digging up soils or hurting vegetation. If that was happening, then we would step in, but that's just, again, I don't know how we'd even monitor it. Unfortunately.
Is there any signage to that effect in the areas?
There is no signage. I know Pebble Beach and Rockport, I think, has signage.
Yeah, they've suffered it for years.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the first step. I don't know whether the city can throw in a security camera or not, or tell them that there is a security camera, whether or not there is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, again, it's mostly on the city-owned lots, because of this parking across the street. It's convenient. And it's also, there's no like descending steep grades or anything like that. It's pretty much right there for the taking. And it's pretty much picked clean, believe it or not. There's not a lot of good stuff left. It's all just the broken shale at this point. But so you're saying that it's not in your wheelhouse, and I don't know if it's in the open space wheelhouse. It is on the city inventory. But is it a DPW issue or a city issue? Is there?
I would
any-
think it's DPW or city as far as possibly getting signage. I can't, that's the best I could do at this time for you. But unless they're digging up plants and disturbing soils significantly, it's really out of our wheelhouse.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
You're welcome. Thank you. Did we have one more?
We do. Hold on. So Kathy, I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hi,
Hello.
Kathy.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, I have a couple of questions that have been on my mind for a while. I don't know if this is the Conservation Committee, but I've noticed that new developments, that new,
Kathy,
Yeah.
before you begin, can you give us your first and last name and your address, please?
okay, it's Kathy Roberts. Kathy Roberts and 12 Lindahl Street, Gloucester.
Okay,
Okay.
you're welcome to
Um,
speak. Yeah.
Okay, so I noticed on Hart Street last year, a new house was built right on top of the wetlands that are at the end of the street, closer to Bass Ave. And I heard that there's another plot right next to it that is also available for building. And I don't understand it. It's right on the wetlands. It has the little waterway going right by the house. What is the ordinance, or what is what is the
Well,
ordinance regarding this? I thought that our wetlands were protected way back.
Well, Kathy, if I may speak, the projects came before us. It doesn't necessarily mean because it's in green on the website. All that means is that it's in the buffer to the resource, and therefore they have to come before this commission, which that house did. It's a very unique situation. It's basically in the marsh, but it did get reviewed by this commission. We have no control over what may or may not be another buildable lot, but we did review that. They are protected. When it comes to buffer zones, we are, and you are, everybody's allowed to come before the commission and propose a project. Nope.
That's me.
Other than that, there's not, we did our job back then. Unless there's another project, we won't be, we're not here to discuss things that don't exist yet.
Right. Well, I just wanted to know, what the facts were, so that, a lot of times you see something being built before you even know about it, and you're like, that doesn't
Everything's
seem.
public, and if people don't choose to go look on the website, at the city's website or conservation, they're all posted publicly 48 hours in advance. And all the butters get direct notifications. So it's a kind of a cold argument to say that, nobody knows. It's nobody's looking is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I could spend 24/7 on the city website reading every single thing from every single committee. I just, who has that kind of time? I try to do what I can. But what I'm saying now is there is another lot of land. And for some reason, this house was given permission to build, and it just doesn't make sense to me, because I know there are ordinances, on conservation land, especially wetlands are supposed to be very much protected. So I don't know what made you make that decision, but I will have to go back and read the notes.
Okay.
The other question I have is also on Thatcher Road, the new development. I don't know if it's Gigaloni Brothers, is being built again on wetlands. I mean, what is going on?
That was adjudicated over 14 or 17 years. And basically they were given approval to do it, even though all the boards said no. They fought, they went through the judicial system, and they were allowed to build.
They went through which judicial system? The state?
Yes,
And the state
believe
approved it over the city?
correct,
ordinance?
correct.
Okay, that's That's absolutely not right. That's crazy. I mean, if that keeps happening in Gloucester, we'll have no wetlands left. It's gonna affect our marshes, our beaches, wildlife. It just really upsets me. I mean, we have these ordinances on the books. They're there for a reason, but yet people keep overruling them. Whether it's the state or whatever, it just makes no sense to me. And what can we do about this? What can I do as a citizen?
You can read up on the wetlands ordinance and understand what we do have control and what we don't have. As far as zoning board, you should look at the zoning ordinance. Again, they're all online, they're all there. I know you don't want to take the time, but you want to show concern. I would then
No,
talk
I
to your-
didn't say, no, don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say didn't want to take the time. I said I can't take the time to read everything from every planning and development, conservation, school committee, city council. I'm just saying that's a lot of homework
It is.
for someone. That's why I'm listening to this meeting, so I can find out what's going on. The third thing is Ledgemont Ave. I grew up there. My mother still has a house there. Trees were cut down to make the dead end no longer a dead end. There was a pond there, there's conservation land there, there's wetlands there, but yet the trees again were cut down in order to make a right of way for a house that's really on Mount Vernon Street. I just want to know what's going on there. What's the update? Because you say that the abutters are notified. Well, in this case, the abutters were not notified. They got a letter from the owner of the land the day before the trees were to be cut down. So that was not done in accordance with what was supposed to be done in the correct way.
Well, a mistake could have been made. It's rare, but notification's required. They can't go forward without it. So I don't know
Well,
where your information.
Wasn't done.
Okay.
Wasn't that, my mother lives there. She got a letter. I saw it. And I talked with all the neighbors on Ledgemont Ave. They got the letter a day before. They were not notified ahead of time, and, big, oak trees that were 200 years old were cut down. And that person could have made a right away on Mount Vernon Street. I don't know why a whole neighborhood had to be ruined and possibly a throughway road going through there. I don't know.
Well, unfortunately, we don't deal with that. We just deal with wetlands.
Okay, well, there was a pond there that was filled in, so there's wetlands there for sure. There's a
Okay.
map of it. Yeah. So who's the tree warden now? Is it the DPW director?
I have no idea. I would assume it's not us. I know that.
So there's no separate tree warden that like there used to be back in the days?
Not that I know of.
There should be. That's something to consider again.
If I were in control of it, we'd have one, but I don't have that power.
Yeah.
Nor
Well,
does
I
that
heard it was the DPW director who was the tree warden, but that, to me, that's a conflict of interest.
Okay, Kathy, can we start our meeting? Is that good?
Okay, I still didn't get my answers about Ledgemont Ave. What's going-
We can't, we're not really here to talk about the past. We're here to review new projects.
Okay,
We understand your concern, and if we can find anything out, if you want to try and contact the conservation office and find out about Ledgemont, I have no idea what you're talking about, so it's hard to discuss right now.
okay. Yeah, well, Ledgemont is a brand new ongoing thing that just happened. So I don't want to see any more trees further cut. It's Ledgemont is connected to Green Street Playground.
I know where it is.
Okay,
Okay.
so, yeah, a huge road was made and a lot of trees were cut down. And,
Okay.
how
We'll
do
make
I,
note. We'll
how
make
do I
note of
get
it.
answers? I've tried calling city council people. I've done my homework. I can't get any answers
Keep
about
pushing.
what's going on there. I mean, what do I do? Call the mayor?
Whatever you feel you have to do, but I really like to get back to this meeting so we can clean up some of the things we do have control over.
Okay, well, Go right ahead.
Thank you very much. You have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Is there anyone else, Adrian, in the public like to speak?
Shut me off.
I'm still here. Or
There is
wait
not.
for Adrian.
There's not, I'm here.
Okay, next up, with seeing none here, none, we'll close the public comment period. Minutes review and approval. I don't see anything here and or on the website, so I guess we're moving on from that. Next up is continued business. We have the ANRAD 28-2765171 and 281 Magnolia Ave. That is previously continued to July 21st. And next up would be notice of intent, no DP number for 14 Riverside Road, Cahill, Bill Manual of Wetlands and Wetland Management representing.
Good evening, everyone. Bill Manuel from Wetlands and Land Management, Danvers, Mass. I have been asked to take over this NOI. It had some procedural defects, and let me just get right to it. I know you have a very long agenda tonight. There were some procedural issues. The fee wasn't calculated properly, so therefore the DEP did not issue a file number. I have calculated the fee correctly and sent an additional $100 to the lockbox, and the DEP has now issued a file number. It is 28-2779, issued with no comments other than they received the additional $100. I've updated the site plan to correctly show what the applicant intends to build. I've sent the application to Division of Marine Fisheries as required, and they have today responded back to Adrian via email that they do not have any issues with this, with the pier, or excuse me, with the ramp and float part of the project. I have notified abutters that was a defect that did not happen with the original filing. And I've also had the plan filed with the city engineering department for the drainage permit. And as of today, there was an email back to the design engineer, John Judd, Gateway Consultants, that the engineering division intends to approve the city drainage permit. So that's the progress I've made to date. Remember, the commission approved this project back in 2007. For largely the same project. We've come back to you in 2021, the applicant has, and he's got a slightly revised house footprint. The water side of the house stays the same. He's expanded out about 6 feet on the landward side and added a farmer's porch. But all that expansion occurs on the land side. There's some other details on the property that need to get fixed since it was last worked on about 2010. The parking space out front is contained by a retaining wall, and that wall has since cracked and is leaning out a little bit. So the owner intends to reinforce that wall by installing sort of a backing shade block wall, one of those stack up several of those jumbo blocks to buttress the existing wall there. And that will be resurfaced with paver stone at the end of the project. The plan shows some, hopefully we'll get the plan up there, but I'll keep talking. The plan shows some very subtle swales along the left and right side of the house. Those were there because in the original hearing, the neighbors were concerned about run onto their property, runoff from this site going onto the property. There's a detail on the plan just to the left, and you can see it's a very subtle swale. It's about 6 inches deep. I did have a conversation with the attorney for the abutter there, and his concern was there's a lot of vegetation on the property line, and they were concerned that excavation work here might impact those plants. I reemphasize, this is a 6 inch deep swale. I don't think there's any root growth within 6 inches of the surface. If it happens to extend over the property line, I'm sure it does. I told Attorney Nestor that I would look into that, and I've been considering it. I've asked the design engineer if that can even be removed, and he thought it was necessary to prevent any runoff from the site from going onto the abutting land, which is a very important concern of the drainage permit. So I think that work can be accomplished by shovel work, or I even thought that perhaps you run a rototiller set to 6 inches deep, just run it down that side of the property and loosen that soil, and then it can be shaped with shovel and rake. You see the swale is comprised of filter fabric and crushed stone, so it's not this deep excavated feature. And I think in some creative way along those lines, we can accomplish that grading and not have any impact to the abutters vegetation. The foundation work, this is an old camp style house, as you, I'm sure you're aware by now. The cottage was taken down to the first floor level, and there's nothing but first floor plywood on there. That is going to be taken down to the existing concrete block foundation, or cinder block, I guess you'd call it. Several of the blocks have deteriorated. We know we have a very tight workspace along the sides and the water side, so we know we can't do any excavation, but several of the blocks do have to be removed and replaced. That's a mason's task. If we need to get below grade, then they'll have to shovel out and work shovel by hand on the water side and possibly the left-hand side. There is a new bump out on the front. I reread my narrative, and I did not mention that we will probably need to utilize a mini excavator to excavate for the footing of that bump out in front. It is not intended that that portion of the project would be done by hand. We can easily get a mini excavator either lowered onto the site off of the driveway, or create an earthen ramp and just get down to the working level and excavate that. We do show a stockpile area in the front yard for any soil that's excavated for the footing trench. Again, that foundation will be a CMU block foundation. It will be constructed by a mason, and then once the foundation is to the proper height, then the carpentry work begins, and it's a carpentry project after that. There is a ramp and float proposed on this site. This was previously approved by the Conservation Commission in 2007. It is a 30-foot ramp and a 10 by 20 float. It is going to rest on the bottom at low tide, and it will have wood standoff legs so that it does not rest on the tide flats. The Division of Marine Fisheries commented that this was designed in accordance with the DEP guide for small docks and piers, and that they didn't have any other issues with it. We also included in the submittal an extensive landscape plan. So that is also included in the filing, and it covers roughly, the lot's only itself about 3,800, just over 3,800 square feet, but there is about 1,500 square feet of landscaping that is proposed for the property, so that essentially it becomes a low maintenance or no maintenance type of landscape. So we've got our all the comments and file number and everything that we need. We've got the indication that we're going to get the drainage permit. We've got comments from DMF. We've got an updated site plan. So we feel that we're in a good position here to close the hearing tonight and get approval. You are, I'm sure, going to hear from abutters council. There are zoning issues. We're well aware of that. There were zoning issues when this was approved back in 2007. The owner went to the Zoning Board of Appeals and got all the necessary approvals from Zoning Board of Appeals. Unfortunately, due to health reasons, he couldn't enact the permits and relief at that time, so they have expired. We intend on going back and obtaining all the necessary relief from zoning. One last thing I forgot is the seawall. The usual, every time we come to the Conservation Commission, when there is a seawall, it is a masonry seawall, and we would like to repoint that wall, repair it. It's in relatively good shape. It just needs the usual remortaring and repointing. We can put tarps down. Obviously, the work gets done at low tide. The usual practice is we put tarps down so that anything that's chipped out of the wall can be recovered and then removed out of the intertidal zone. So that's it. As I said, I think we're in good shape to hopefully close the hearing tonight. It's been on the agenda for a long time. So that's the extent of my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manuel. Before we move ahead on this, I just want to quickly, Adrian, if you get a moment, I don't want to think Kathy left that previous caller without a recourse. We should look into the Ledgemont issue and just make sure there's nothing crazy going on up there that we should have known about. Just in case Kathy comes back next week, I'd like to have an answer for her. Next up then would be is our public comment period for this project. I'm going to open it up to the public. That being said, I'd like, first of all, there's a lot of zoning issues here that we have nothing to do with. We're here to discuss conservation issues only. So if people could keep it limited to that, things should go a lot easier. So with that, Adrian, can you, if anybody wants to speak, they may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen, or hitting *9 on your tablet or phone.
Yes, Mark Nestor is here to speak.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mark.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Mark Nestor. I'm an attorney with address of 45 Middle Street, Gloucester, Massachusetts. I represent William and Linda Muffleman, who reside at 10 Riverside. And yes, I did have a conversation with Mr. Molman last week. I expressed our concerns. The primary concerns is the space between the wall, the foundation on 14 Riverside and my client's property line is only 5 feet. And they're asking to put a 2-foot wide drainage ditch 6 inches deep in there. Initially, the NOI said it was going to be only by hand dug. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to do with a hand dug. When I talked to Bill before, he was talking about a small excavator. Now he's apparently talking about doing a rototiller. The concern what my clients have is they have a lot of well-developed plantings along their boundary line, literally on their boundary line, arborvitae, lilac bushes of considerable height, and they're concerned that there's only a 5-foot gap now, and any construction there is clearly going to have an impact. And they don't have much better luck on the right-hand side of the property because that gap is only 7 feet. So there's a big concern what's going to have an impact there. I know he talked about a storage area up by the parking lot, but according to that plan, at least a good chunk of that parking lot is already going to be occupied with a dumpster. So there's a lot of less space left. Initially, I thought the theory was they were just going to use cinder blocks, but apparently now, when I reread the NOI, they have to have some concrete poured, which means we're going to have a concrete truck somewhere probably blocking the entrance to my client's property. We attached some photographs to my written opposition, so we're raising a concern about that. Plus the fact, as I understand now, they're raising the level of the foundation 5 blocks of 35 inches. I'll just leave it at that. But the biggest issue for ours is the excavation work and the impact the excavation work is going to do. They're extending the back, which means there's digging, which is all going to potentially adverse impact on my client's plantings, my client's boundary line. And I didn't see anything in the NOI how to address that issue. And I understand this is not a position for the ZBA issues, and I won't address them other than the fact that this is approximately a 35% increase in the footprint of the existing soil, which is larger than was concerned back in the prior Conservation Act. So we just lay that out that it is a bigger expansion. There's going to be more construction. My clients are majorly concerned about the impact that that's going to have on them with the excavation.
You all set?
That's generally I've got. I mean, the photographs speak for themselves, and they're mature plantings. These are not like small shrubs. We're talking 8-foot arborvitaes, 7-8-foot lilac bushes that have been over 50 years old that are right on the boundary.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else have their hand up, Adrian, or on *9 on hold?
I see no other comments at this time.
Seeing none, hearing none, to close the public comment period. I guess we might as well move into commissioner comments, but
Sure, for comments, commissioners. Commissioner Charpentier,
None at this time.
Commissioner Cook,
You're muted, Bill.
Oh, none at this time.
okay? Commissioner Gradwell,
None at this time.
Commissioner Sargent,
The only thing I'd suggest would be all material for the floating dock be non-toxic to the marine environment.
Co-chair Mangala.
after reviewing this, again, it's not that much different than the original project that was before us years ago. The applicant has gotten the proper sign-offs through DEP and DMF. There's an extensive planting plan. I think they've done, we can't talk about, I mean, we can talk about it, but we're here to discuss what's on this lot, not about neighbors and how it may impact neighbors. We probably could have talked about how it may impact resources, but that didn't come up. I think this is going to be a heavily watched area, and if they move outside the lines literally, we will get a call quickly. It's a tight site and they're gonna have to treat it. The only thing I would ask for is either double or triple silt socks on the edges or beefing up the protections to the resource a little more than normal. But other than that, I don't see where else to, I mean, much more they can do here. That's my comments.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just jump in here very
I'm
quickly.
sorry.
We're not done with comments yet.
Oh, sorry.
Commissioner comments.
It's okay. Co-chairwoman Jackson.
No comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now go ahead.
I thought I had put on the plan to install a an orange high-vis plastic fencing around the water edge. And if I just checked and I don't see it, but that could be a condition that you add to just install a plastic high-vis fence along the water line. And that way it'll catch any blowing debris. We can certainly double up the mulch sock. I've suggested 12-inch diameter mulch sock, which is fairly beefy. You can put, you can either do an 18-inch diameter or do two 12s, one on top of the other. But once you get down onto the grade of where the house is, the land is fairly flat. And as I said, the excavation work for the expanded footing and foundation is on the opposite side of the home. So I'm really not concerned that we're going to have a sedimentation problem. With respect to the neighbors, I mean,
You don't have to go there. We're not here to deal with neighbors.
That's fine. I just want to point out that it's a back and forth, and I did speak with the owners, and they're equally concerned with preserving the vegetation that's over there. So somehow we'll work out a solution so that alleviates everyone's concern.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I don't know if again, you want to do roll call comments one more time. We want to move this, whatever the commission wants. It's up to you guys. Why don't we do roll call comments one more time now that they had a chance to absorb it?
Sure, follow-up comments. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent,
No additional comment.
Co-chair Mangala,
No more comments.
and Co-chairwoman Jackson.
No comment.
Okay,
So with that, why don't we get a motion to move, close the hearing?
Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282779 14 Riverside Road.
Charpentier seconds.
roll call vote. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-chair Mangala,
Yes.
and Co-chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the project for NOI 0282779 at 14 Riverside Road.
Charpentier seconds.
A roll call vote, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullo,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, commission members.
Thank you.
Before you move forward, Chairman Gullo, if I'm showing the wrong screen, you have to let me know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oops.
I have 3 screens going. This is the right screen though. Now you can all see it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to recuse, this is a withdrawal, I can deal with it. So we got notice of intent 28-2760, 40 Thurston Point Road, Hamey, and John at Gateway Consultants. I believe they asked for a withdrawal without prejudice, correct?
Yes, they did, and we'll have to move to accept the withdrawal without prejudice, accept the request to withdraw without prejudice, excuse me.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to accept the request for withdrawal without prejudice for NOI 028-2760 at 40 Thurston Point Road.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
I'm sorry, Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullo,
Abstain.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up. Where are we? Right here. Notice of intent 28-2762, 652 Essex Avenue, Hersey, Carl Gardner at Gardner Company representing, requests a continuation to May 19th, 2021.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 028-2762 at 652 Essex Avenue to the Conservation Commission meeting of May 19th, 2021.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullo,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is notice of intent 28-2772, 498 Washington Street, Marino, Joel Favazza at Seaside Legal Solutions representing.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the record, my name is Joel Favazza. I am an attorney at Seaside Legal Solutions, and I am here on behalf of Amanda Marino, the owner of 498 Washington Street. As you may remember, we were here a few weeks ago. We received some comment from the Division of Marine Fisheries regarding the deck that had been proposed. And so we sent a retooled version of the plan that addressed both those comments and a few of the comments made by some of the commissioners at our last meeting. And so to kind of go through those in no particular order, one was that the deck itself was originally 15 feet off the face of the proposed structure, which again, I remind you is a rebuild. And at our last meeting, we talked about pulling it back another 3 feet and eliminating the piles to try and address some of the comments we'd received. And then based on additional comments we got, I believe from Mr. Sargent at our last meeting, we've tucked the deck in another 2 feet. So this deck is now 10 feet off the face of the new building. There are no piles. And another comment that was brought up was the concrete retaining wall at the lower end of the driveway. That has been changed to a stone retaining wall to make sure that runoff is able to infiltrate into the dense mitigation plantings on its way down the driveway. Now, we had stopped last time discussing the alternatives analysis, and we'll touch on that briefly. Adrian, would it be okay if I shared the screen?
I could do that for you, Joel. We'll have to step through. I will have to promote you to co-host. And then you can take over the share screen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. One moment, I'll be right there. Okay, so in thinking about how to discuss this tonight, make sure that we all understand these plans to get all the information that you need sometimes have a lot of lines on them. And so I try to color code this as best as possible so we can kind of talk about what is going on in the the Rocky Intertidal Shore area. As you know, we're in the riverfront, so we have an alternatives analysis, and the standard we have to go by is whether the expansion of the existing structures improves existing conditions, and also whether the overall result enhances the capacity of the riverfront area to protect the interests identified in the Wetland Protection Act. And one of the things that the Division of Marine Fisheries pointed out was that it's important to allow sunlight to hit the Rocky Intertidal Shore because that allows for plant and animal life to receive the benefits of direct sunlight. And so if you look at the plan that I have up, I've tried to color code it. Me trying to make it simple means there's 5 different colors, so take it or leave it. I'm trying my best here. But basically you see in the yellow and the peach, that is areas right now where the property is not covered by structure, whether it's deck or house, where if this is allowed, there would be structure. The peach is where there would be actual house, and the yellow is where there would be deck. Now, again, as I showed you last time, this house is actually lifted up. It's not sitting directly in the resource area like the current house is. And the deck, again, is just being suspended out without piles. The light blue area, that's where the existing deck was. And so I still think that's an improvement because if you take that entire light blue area, it's all coming up at least 4 feet from where the old deck was. And again, I'm not sure if you see my mouse here, but south is toward the bottom. This is a north aligned plan. So as the sun comes through the southern sky with this new deck where the light blue is at least 4 feet up, you're going to get more sunlight penetration than you were getting. And then the dark blue is actually where the original foundation was buried right into the resource area. And that's again being converted into deck as well. So right now where you have 0 visibility, 0 resource area, that kind of becomes, again, there'll be a deck there, but it'll be at elevation 16. There's no roof on the deck. And again, so as the sun comes across the top of the deck or through the southern sky, that dark blue area gets exposed. And then everything that's green is where there's either the current deck was or the previous house was. And that's just being, removed because the house is being pushed over due to zoning concerns. So if you look at it, although there is certainly some area that you see in the yellow where there's additional deck area being added, that area was to a degree shadowed by the old house to begin with. And again, will be at elevation 16, so it's quite a ways off the rocks. Meanwhile, everywhere you see light blue, dark blue, or green, things are definitely getting better because you're either converting existing house to nothing, existing house to deck, or existing deck to 4 feet higher off the ground deck. And so when you factor all that into the rest of the work, because I know this was the focal point last meeting, you have to look at the project in totality, in addition with the mitigation plantings, in addition with the removal of pavement and conversion to pervious surfaces, with the addition of the removal of other outbuildings that are on the property now, all of which are in the riverfront zone, I think that the applicant is a pretty strong demonstration that the existing conditions in this riverfront area are going to be improved, and that the interests of the Wetland Protection Act are going to be further protected with this plan than what was previously out there. And so again, it's up to you, Mr. Chair, whether you want to pause and say, we'll discuss the alternatives analysis now, or whether you want me to go on with the project. But the last thing I'll say is that obviously, when you do your alternatives analysis, the other part of your standard is that you have to focus on whether there's a practicable, substantially equivalent economic alternative. So obviously, turning this into a dog park would probably be better for the riverfront area, but that would destroy the value of their house. They'd have nowhere to live, so you can't compare that kind of stuff. It was a single-family house sitting in the resource area, and it'll be a single-family house lifted up and out of the resource area And so I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay, thank you. So the first step would be is we need to move on. We have to vote on I don't believe we did it last time, to vote on the alternatives analysis. So did you want to speak towards that right now before and clarify it for the commission so we can vote on that issue first?
I mean, I believe I have spoken to it hopefully sufficiently tonight. Again, if your standard is, are things going to get better on this site than they were? As I just, kind of ended with, the old house was built directly into the resource area, being the coastal bank. The old deck reached out at a corner as far as this new proposed deck will reach. And I think overall the site, gets vastly improved from an ecological standpoint based on the conversion of impervious to pervious surfaces, the planting and mitigation plantings, the lifting of the structure up out of the resource area. And again, per request from both this commission and the Division of Marine Fisheries, the removal of any piles associated with the deck and the shrinking of the deck by over 30%, from the original design to try and, meet a friendly compromise here.
Okay, and Joe, do you want to move to start the motion to accept the alternatives analysis and see where it goes?
Happy to do it. And for the record, by the way, I, Commissioner Jackson, have listened to the tapes for both April 7th and for April 21st meetings that I was unable to be present for. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the alternatives analysis for NOI 0282772 at 498 Washington Street.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gulla,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Before we move on, Mr. Vavaza, I'm going to open it up for public comment now. This is the period where the public can speak towards this project. You may do so by using the raise your hand button or hitting *9 on your tablet or handheld device.
I do not see any members of the public with their hand up at this time.
Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Okay, Joel, Mrs. Vavaza, have you pretty much covered everything? I think we can, move this now. I'm sorry, we're going to go to commissioner roll call comments.
Certainly. I just want to point out again, we bet the 2-to-1 ratio of mitigation. Otherwise, we've discussed it all.
Okay. Commissioner roll call comments, Adrian?
Comments from commissioners. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwall,
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yes, high water still goes underneath the main building and it will be on piles. And I asked last time if there was a Chapter 91, and if there isn't, how it would be dealt with. Any material with those piles, if going to be on piles, would have to be non-toxic in marine environment. And I also didn't see any monitoring and plan for the mitigation as well. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Co-Chairman Gulla
No comments.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
None. I support Mr. Sargent's comments.
Okay, with all the commissioners commenting, basically, Mr. Sargent had a few for you, Mr. Vavaza. Can you respond to those, please?
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, the applicant intends to comply with Chapter 91. Basically, through the zoning process and then again through this conservation process, the plan changes. And as you may know, the Chapter 91 process is long. We did not want to get started with a set of plans and have to, revise those plans multiple times. We went through local permitting. So that's why we don't have the 91 in hand just yet. As far as the pile material, absolutely non-toxic is not a problem if you want to require that as a condition. And same thing for the mitigation plantings. If you'd like to have, the standard 2 or 3 year monitoring to make sure the, X percentage survives for at least 3 growing seasons, that's not problematic for the applicant either.
Excellent. Okay. Mr. Sargent, is that good enough, or do you need more as far as the Chapter 91 issue?
Fine as kind.
Excellent.
Okay,
Okay,
Commissioner-
then with that,
Commissioner
and Joe, if you
Jackson,
want to move it?
yep. Sure. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282772 at 498 Washington Street.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes,
Co-Chair Mangala,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the project for NOI 0282772 at 498 Washington Street.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
yes,
Co-Chair Mangala,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the color, I'm not kidding. The color does help, helps a lot. People should take note.
Attorney Favaza, before you go, will you please follow up with me a PDF of that slide so I can include it in the order?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, notice of intent, 28-2774, 8 Island Rock Road, Blackpool, Bill Manuel at Wetlands and Land Management representing.
Good evening, Bill Manuel, Wetlands and Land Management, Danvers, Mass. The commission should be familiar with this property. They issued an order of conditions for a fairly significant house renovation in 2019. That work is ongoing. This is a property that fronts, it's very close to Niles Beach and it fronts out on the harbor. What we'd like to do with this particular NOI is to first, I'll start on the landward side, install an accessory building, a 24 by 18 accessory building up closer to the street that happens to be in the buffer zone to Coastal Bank. And then we'd also would like to install an 18-foot long pier with a 50-foot ramp and a 10 by 24-foot float. Let me just go back to, I'm sorry to keep bouncing you around, Adrian, but go back to the accessory building up front. As I said, the house has been under construction. The front of the property has been largely used as a like a lay down area, worker parking. There was a Connex box container there at one point. So it's, as of this point, it's fairly devoid of vegetation. And so anyway, that accessory building would be constructed in an area that's basically wide open right now. At the end of the project, there is an extensive landscaping plan which was submitted by Hillary Holdsworth, and it covers essentially from the street all the way to the where the bedrock ends at the back of the house. It will augment the existing vegetation that's there and add a significant amount of screening. The driveway is intended to be pea stone. The accessory building is about 432 square feet, and we've got I think about 1,500 square feet of landscaping. It may be more than that. I don't have that exact number, but you can see it. It goes. You can see the size of the square of the accessory building versus the extent of landscaping. So we've more than offset the requirements for your mitigation policy. So now jumping back to the pier, I'm going to let you know that we're going to have to continue this hearing tonight, but I did want to get the discussion started. The DMF commented that there is eelgrass in this area. So we did put a diver in the water to figure out where eelgrass, if eelgrass is present around here. As it turns out, there is a very small patch of eelgrass that is right on the very end of the float. And then if you proceed another 20 to 30 feet offshore, there is a more extensive eelgrass bed. So I did have a conversation with Kate Frew of DMF this afternoon, and I'm going to share with her the results of our survey. I'll also share it with the commission. And I'm going to be looking to Kate and probably Tay Evans for inputting suggestion on what they would consider acceptable for work in and around those eelgrass beds. So I am going to ask to continue. But the other thing I wanted to bring up was the size of the float, which is a 10 by 24 foot float when the commission likes to approve 10 by 20. As I said, this is exposed to a good fetch of open water. It is kind of the rougher side of Gloucester. I do have a recommendation by a very well-respected marine contractor, Dirt Murray, who does recommend, he actually recommended the 10 by 24 foot float. He's the one who's going to build it, install it, and tend it. And he recommends that so there's something larger and beefier to counteract the wave energy that's going to be encountered at this site. He felt that was important for stability on the float and for safe berthing of a vessel up against it. So we hope that you consider his comments and would allow for a 10 by 24 float. But other than that, I'd like to hear the commission's comments, and then we'll pick up the discussion at a later meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll open up for public comment first. Anyone who wishes to speak for or against the project at 8 Island Rock Road may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your page screen, and or hitting *9 on your phone or tablet.
We do have a member of the public to speak, Cynthia P. I see your hand up. I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Cynthia Pisciuto, 2 Raven Lane. I'm for Hawthorne Point Condo Association. So I'm also representing the 28 units of the association this evening. And I'm just looking for some more information if that's possible. We submitted some questions in mid-April. To the Conservation Commission. Is it okay to go through those, or do you want to refer to the Conservation Commission?
If you could be brief, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, just the, is this going to be an increase in hazard in regards to storms and uses of waters? Is there going to be any dockside fueling or servicing of boats? Are people going to be allowed to reside on the boats overnight? And is there going to be a size limitation anticipated? Is there going to be lighting? And is it possible for the public to view the lighting? And is there any renderings from Niles Beach that can be seen? And if there's going to be lighting, are the utilities like underground or over? That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else out there, Adrian, in the public who wants to speak on the project for or against?
I see no other comments at this time.
Okay. Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. I don't know if you want to take the time now to answer any of those, Mr. Manuel, but we'll go through commission comments first. Adrian, do you mind do roll call comments from the commission?
Yep, commissioner comments for Commissioner Charpentier.
Yeah, it's always these docks, and somebody always says that, there's wave action and it's intense, but we never see any data. So that's just my comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Cook.
Well, like I said, I'd really like to hold it to a 10 by 20. I think a 4-foot difference really isn't going to make that much of a difference. It is much closer in towards the harbor. So I'd really like them to reconsider and go to the 10 by 20. But that's it.
Okay. Commissioner Gradwell.
Where they're forced to reconsider moving it, they may be forced into the 20-foot limitation also. But generally, when we allow anything to go through, we require that the harbor master or the shellfish warden, or as in the last meeting, the Dave Sargent's valued opinion, but we normally require something more than just a statement from some engineer.
Thank you. Commissioner Sargent.
I will also say that this area does get a significant amount of fetch, unlike, a previous approval down on Rocky Neck. With regards to the eelgrass, I'll wait for DMF, but obviously based on what Mr. Manuel said, crop scouring would be a real concern based on how he's depicted the area. I also noticed that the profile on the plan and the floating dock showed approximately 2 feet of water underneath the floating dock at mean low water. If this is accurate, then the floating dock, as well as any vessel that's tied to it, would ground out during certain astronomically low tides and in times of high wave energy. What measures are proposed to prevent this grounding from happening? The plan should more clearly depict that the floating dock is within the property's easterly portion of the water sheet and meets recommended setbacks from the easterly abutters water sheet. And also all material must be non-toxic in the marine environment. That's it.
Thank you. Co-Chairman Gullo.
I'll wait also for DMF, but usually we do request a little more. Unless I missed it, we would like to see at least shellfish comments, and obviously everything Dave mentioned concerns me as well. But I think the whole thing could be changed because we don't know what DMF is going to do. So maybe you can make it fit the 10 by 20 and solve all the eelgrass problems, but eelgrass is a really sensitive topic with this commission, so it'll have to be creative to say the least. That's it for me.
Okay. Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes, I do know Mr. Murray. I am aware of his reputation, but I would like to see his comments in writing along with his qualifications, just to back us up.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so I don't know if you want to comment on a couple of those, Mr. Manuel. You want to wait till you get your review from DMF, and because a lot of things may change. I'm on the
Yeah.
assumption most of the commission, if not all, is fine with the proposed structure and the plantings you're suggesting. I think the real issue here is the float and the dock.
I just do want to comment that I do have email communication from Mr. Murray that was included in the notice of intent.
Okay.
His qualifications are he's probably been on the water from about 3 days after he was born.
I am aware of that. Okay,
And just a question to Commissioner Gradwell.
I do see those comments. My apologies.
Yep, not a problem. What additional, I was scribbling notes furiously and I got what additional info? Can you just elaborate on your comment?
Normally what we do is we get additional input from the harbor master or
Yes.
the shellfish commissioner. And I personally accept anything from Dave Sargent as being a qualified source.
Mhm.
Same way that we considered John to be a qualified tree person.
Exactly. I have submitted the application to the harbor master and the shellfish constable at the time of the application. I believe there's protocol now that it is when the Conservation Commission requests input from those two departments, they will provide it. So it's going to be up to Adrian to please request that.
Okay. So with that, when do you want to continue to?
Let's continue it for 2 weeks, please, and we'll see what progress we make in the next week.
Okay.
So continue to May 19th.
19th. Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282774 for 8 Island Rock Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of May 19th, 2021.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullo,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next up,
All right, thank
notice
you.
of intent 28-2775 14 Fort Hill Avenue. Applicant requests a continuation to May 19th, 2021.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282775 at 14 Fort Hill Ave to the meeting of the Gloucester Conservation Commission on May 19th, 2021.
Charpentier seconds.
And roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes,
Thank you.
Next up, notice of intent 20-2776, 11 Webster Street, City of Gloucester. They are also requesting a continuation to, or they've been previously continued to May 19th, 2021. So we're all set there. Next up then would be notice of intent 28-2777, 12 Mount Locust Lane, David Kelly at Meridian Associates represent.
Good evening, David Kelly with Meridian Associates. We were before you at the last meeting. We were proposing a deck on the left-hand side of the existing dwelling located within the buffer zone to the mean annual high water. It was requested that some additional landscaping be provided to offset the impervious area created by the knee wall that would support the deck. So adjacent to the proposed deck, we have proposed approximately 100 square foot mulch bed to be planted with some magnolias, some inkberries, some Bar Harbor junipers, and some dwarf fountain grass. And in this picture, it's kind of to the right of that stump looking thing adjacent to that stone retaining wall. So it's kind of tucked in between where the proposed deck would be and the existing landscaped wall.
Oh, okay.
So, yep, right. Yep. Right in there, exactly.
Okay. Is that all we were looking for at the last meeting, mitigation?
Yes.
Okay, so with that, I'll open up for the public to speak. So for public comment, anybody in the public is welcome to speak for or against the project at 12 Mount Locust Lane. If you want to speak, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or tablet.
There are no comments from the public at this time.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Why don't you do commissioner comments, Adrian?
Sure, for comments, Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwall,
no comment,
Commissioner Sargent,
No comment.
and Co-Chairman Gullah
No comments.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Hey, Joe, you there? She
sorry, I
dropped off.
muted myself. No comment.
Okay, there you go. Any comments, Joe?
No, no comment.
Okay, and with that, this was a notice of intent, so can we get a motion to close the hearing?
Of course. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282777 at 12 Mount Locust. Is it place or lane?
Thank you.
Place.
It is place.
Place, okay.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the project for NOI 0282777 at 12 Mount Locust Place.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right. Thank you very much.
thank you. Next up, new business. First up is RDA 1694, 0 Witham Street. Mass Electric, Sarah French, I'm never gonna pronounce, Vanessa Hagen Brustelin representing.
Hi, yeah, this is Emily Martin. I'm actually presenting for Sarah tonight with, VHB.
Okay.
Adrian, it looks like you have my slides. Thank you. So yes, this is just for a new pole installation along the shoulder of Witham Street. It's going to be going in between existing poles 850 and 851. So here's our location. It is within the outer limits of the 100-foot buffer to salt marsh, and it's also within land subject to coastal storm flowage. The new pole will be installed with a direct embed method. It's approximately 18 inches in diameter, so it will result in about 2 square feet of disturbance to land subject to coastal storm flowage and the outer limits of the buffer zone here. But it's not anticipated to impair any functions of the resource areas or the buffer zone. We can go to the next slide just to show you the location, looking in both directions, looking north here on the left and then looking south. It's just going to be installed right in line on the shoulder here. And we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so as I mentioned, it'll just be installed completely. All the work is going to be done from within the trucks, and staging and everything will be located on the paved roadway surface during work. They'll be excavating 6 to 8 feet depending on site conditions, and then placing the pole into the hole and backfilling with crushed stone or native material. And then we have erosion controls to be set up between the work area and salt marsh resource area. And then everything will be stabilized afterwards, and we'll get rid of any excess soils and remove them according to applicable laws. Got no stockpiling overnight in the buffer zone or land subject to coastal storm flowage. And we don't anticipate dewatering, but we do have some provisions laid out in the RDA, and if that is required.
Excellent. Thank you. I'll open this up for public comment. Does anyone in the public wish to speak towards the project at 0 Witham Street? If so, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 or on your phone or a handheld device.
There are no comments from the public at this time.
Okay, moving on then, we'll go on to commissioner comments.
Sure, comments from commissioners. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent,
No comment.
Co-Chair Magala,
No comments.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
No comment.
Thank you.
So this is a RDA, so we're looking for a negative determination, I would guess.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1694 at 0 Witham Street.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chair Magala,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Abstain. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the project for RDA moves for a negative determination for RDA 1694 at 0 Witham Street.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chair Mangala,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Abstain.
Thank you.
Next up, RDA 1695, 43 Farrington Avenue, Sudbury Estate, Dan Ottenheimer of Mill River Consulting representing.
Good evening, commissioners. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great, hi. So Dan Ottenheimer, Mill River Consulting, here talking with you about a vacant parcel at 43 Farrington Avenue. A bit of a strange turn of events. It's an excellent image to share. Thank you, Adrian. So you can see the parcel highlighted in yellow. And the reason we're before the commission is this is a vacant lot. It is owned by the estate of Phyllis Sudbay, and the family members, the Sudbay family, none of them live right here. And it's been just kept in its native state for several years while the estate is being settled. You can see a house on the other side of Farrington Avenue. Well, first of all, directly across Farrington Avenue is some land owned by Essex County Greenbelt, and then you can see a house further back. Last year, the Sudbay family descendants, the estate, were contacted by an occupant of that house to see if they might be able to top off some trees in order to apparently maintain their view. Essex County Greenbelt, across the street from this parcel, was also contacted, and both parties gave verbal permission for that to occur. Fast forward to a month or so ago, and your office received a phone call about trees being taken down completely. And Adrian, your agent, spoke to the tree company, had them stop work, and then wanted the owner of this parcel to prepare a request for determination of applicability to clarify and explain what unfolded. So we have done that. You'll see a plan that we provided. Essentially, what was verbally described to the Sudbay estate to be a topping off of trees ended up being more than that. So there are 4 areas where work occurred. One of those is in the wetlands. So you can see at the bottom right, I've indicated location of where branches were trimmed. That work there appears to be no trees taken down there, just some branches topped off. Above that is where most of the activity occurred. There are 4 trees that were taken down, as well as some brush that was removed. Those trees lay on the ground. There is no visible exposed soil. Doesn't look like they ripped out the trunks or anything like that. And that's what occurred in that area. The 2 areas, to go back one, please, Adrian, for 1 second, and then we can look at the pictures. So the 2 areas on the left that I've highlighted, I'm not sure why those were trimmed, because it does not appear that there's any vegetation that was tall that was impacted there. It's all low brush. So I don't have any, I can't explain much of this, but I certainly can't explain the thinking of the tree company about what might have happened on the left-hand side, because it would have had no impact on anybody's views. So yes, Adrian, can we go to the pictures, please? So on the bottom left, you can see the photo of the lot from the street. In the top right is the area where those 4 trees were taken down. The birch that's in the foreground, I think, was not taken down by the tree company, because the other ones are clean cut. This one's a very jagged, and so my guess is it just came down on its own. And then I've got, Adrian, one more advance to the next photos, if you don't mind. So you can see the clean cut stumps that were clearly taken down, and there are trees laying and that have been cut up as well. Now, and then on the next page, if you don't mind, Adrian, we can see the area where there is some vegetation that was trimmed, but it had no way impacted views of the person across the street. I don't understand why that happened, but it did. So we are here because this occurred on the land of the estate of the Phyllis Sudbay family, and we obviously became aware of the extent of it. discussed with Adrian the best approach to take. And then and that was to file an RDA, in part to clarify the fact that there are wetlands on the property. And then also if the commission wanted us to do anything different as it relates to the vegetation that's laying on the ground currently.
Okay,
that's the
thank you.
story.
Again, this is a notice, oh, I'm getting some echo.
Yeah, this is an RDA. The other piece, as the Sudbury Estate is being transparent all throughout all of this, is we are going to be submitting a notice of intent to the commission in short order. And that is related to a proposed dwelling that may be constructed on this house. Last week, the Zoning Board of Appeals granted relief to move a potential house further away from the wetlands and closer to the road. And our next permitting stop would be to this commission. So I do want to let you know that that's going to be coming up. And then certainly answer any questions you have or take any guidance you might have as it relates to this vegetation.
Okay, with that, I'll open up for public comment. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against the project at 43 Farrington Avenue may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of the screen or hitting *9 on your tablet or handheld device.
There are no comments at this time.
Okay, with that, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Commissioner, want to do roll call comments? This is an RDA. My personal opinion is leave it alone and wait for the notice of intent for the project itself, if there is one. Otherwise, I'd leave it as is. But roll call comments, please.
Commissioner comments, Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwall,
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent.
I'm all in favor of rolling this over into the NOI, but I do feel like there should be some form of mitigation because of this. The applicants, even though they didn't do the work, they really don't have completely clean hands, in this instance. And I'm wondering if it should have been a after the fact RDA. That's it.
Co-Chairman Gullo
No comments.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes, I'm go along with Mr. Sargent. I would have trouble with a negative finding for the RDA because this work has obviously impacted the resource areas. And I don't know whether an NOI, and Adrian, I'm looking to you for guidance on this. Can the NOI for a positive RDA, for example, be wrapped into the NOI for the house? And I think there are really two areas that need to be addressed: mitigation for this damage and mitigation for the house project as well. Does any of that make sense?
Yes, it does. And since I'm last, I guess I'll speak. So the commission can do as they wish here with this particular filing. It is intended to be an after the fact RDA filing. We were looking to bring the applicant before the commission in a public hearing as soon as possible after the activities took place. It is certainly possible that the commission may ask for mitigation as part of the notice of intent filing. They may ask the applicant to, or they may find a positive determination knowing that the applicant is already planning to file a notice of intent, and at which point the applicant will have to incorporate these activities as part of the notice of intent filing. I am open to all the possibilities. You can certainly say this is a positive determination, and you can also certainly say it's a negative determination, knowing that there is the notice of intent coming, and with an expectation that there will be mitigation with the notice of intent. So
And I guess
one thing that you can't necessarily do is if you find the negative determination on the RDA, you can't then turn around and require that it is tied to the notice of intent. If you find a positive, then of course it is naturally tied to the notice of intent.
Yeah, and that's my concern. I praise the applicant for coming forward and being so forthright and willing to make amends for something that really was not entirely their fault. Or in fact, very little, but nonetheless, I think a positive RDA, positive finding for the RDA makes sense so that we can tie this into the NOI. I'm happy to hear from other commissioners on this.
I agree. I'm fine with it that way
Okay.
too.
Okay. All right.
And I
are we
think I
ready?
would just move it as such and see where it goes.
Okay,
Can I answer a couple of the
sure.
questions that were raised?
of course.
So one, to Commissioner Sargent, we did file this as after the fact and paid the filing fee associated with after the fact filing for an RDA. And to the, I think it was Commissioner Jackson that was talking about impact to the resource area. We're certainly not denying anything that happened here. We showed you everything. But I do think in the resource area, it appears to me to be the trimming of some branches. I definitely do not see anywhere on the site. I don't see any exposed soil or something that would pose an immediate risk to the resource. So I just wanted to make sure the commission understood that.
Yes, thank you very much. I see it more as nobody should have been in the resource area trimming, although I would grant you, I think you're correct on the no direct impact. But there's also indirect impact with the damage that has been done in the buffer as well. So I would just be more comfortable with tying it to the NOI, I think. And as I say, I have complete admiration for you coming forward, you and the applicant coming forward and fessing up and trying to make amends. And I appreciate that. Okay. Are we ready to do that then?
I am.
Okay.
We'll see where it goes.
Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1695 at 43 Farrington Ave.
Carpentier seconds?
In a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves for a positive determination for RDA 1695 at 43 Farrington Avenue.
Carpentier seconds?
In a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Commissioners?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna suggest a 5-minute recess. Someone want to
Okay.
move that?
So moved.
All right. Take 5 minutes, everybody, and final push when we get back.
Okay.
So, and Joe,
Yes,
you got a cousin, John Nolte?
I do.
Has he
Lives right
talked,
up the road.
has he talked to you at all about Salt
Um,
Island?
Yes.
Okay,
I talked with Adrian about it. And the owner, it's apparently a family consortium. And I talked with Adrian and I talked with one of the owners. And what they are doing is clearing invasives, and I don't know whether other brush or not, for, he states, easier access for his family as well as for the public. Somebody reported an excavator. This may not have gone to Adrian. Somebody reported that there had been a small excavator over there, but I can't find anybody who actually saw it.
yeah, he did.
He did. Well,
He called me about it.
oh, good. Okay.
He's got pictures of the tracks on the beach going over there.
Okay. Well, that I could talk with Adrian about, because that can't happen, obviously.
Where was this?
Salt Island, right across from the house.
Oh,
It went under new ownership, I don't know, 3 years ago, somewhere in there. And I believe they were trying to investigate at one point building a house there. I think that they were discouraged from that. And he is trying to make improvements. I think they're very excited about owning an island. And I think they're trying to improve it. They know that public access is traditional there. It would be very difficult to stop public access. So from what I can gather, they are trying to generally do the right thing. They shouldn't have brought over an excavator, but generally trying to do the right thing. And it would be nice to increase accessibility for the public. There are nesting sites over there, both for gulls and ducks, I believe. So I asked him about that, and he said they did not see any nesting sites. So that's what I know. I was away, I didn't get back and, for just about a week ago. So I can't speak to it. I did not see, I have seen people over there, but I have not really seen any work going on.
Yeah, talk to John. He's the one that,
Okay.
okay, we good to go?
Yep. I'm just going to capture that and say, I did speak with the DPW and the police department about that. If anybody sees anybody driving any kind of excavator or vehicle of any kind on Good Harbor Beach that is not the DPW staff beach rake, then they should call the police department, because that is the appropriate dispatch line for that type of activity.
Did anybody speak to the owners about that excavator?
No, I have not had the ability to get a hold of them.
Oh, I've got a number. I'll send it to you.
Okay, great.
All right. For the record, I'm reconvening the commission meeting for Gloucester Conservation. Next up is notice RDA 1696 15 Biskie Head Point, Helen Way Cooperative Association, David Smith at GZA representing.
Good evening, Commissioners. David Smith from GZA here representing the Heron Way Cooperative Association, which is the owner and applicant of the Heron Way Marina at 15 Biskie Head Point. This RDA is being filed to perform some geotech subsurface exploration work. They're looking to have this investigative work performed for some future building foundation work and also for a future pier reconstruction project. So what we're proposing is a minimum of 9 soil borings that will be performed with 5 of them on land with a truck mounted drill rig, as you can see on the right hand of the slide. Those will be borings B1 through B5 that are encompassing the existing building out there that are easily accessible with the truck rig. Those are going to be going down anywhere from 15 to 40 feet in depth. And then in addition to that, we're looking to do at least 4 out onto the pier itself. We can't drive a truck onto the pier, so we have to use a different setup, and that's the portable setup that's on the lower right of the screen. And that's going to be accessed through the existing ramps that are on the pier and popping up some deck boards. So we're looking to have both of these pieces of equipment on site at once, probably a 4-day operation that's going to take place here. And this is going to be performed essentially in accordance with ASTM, the D1586 provision. We will have straw wattles if necessary, but this is going to be using fresh water for drill water, and it's going to be encapsulated into a tub where the water is recycled, and any of the cuttings will be captured. And then at the end of the hole, they'll be deposited back down in the hole and backfilled. So we should have very minimal impacts at all to anything around the boring locations. And this particular activity is actually, it's our understanding, it is exempt from the wetlands protection regs under 310 CMR 10.2 1G. That allows temporary impacts such as exploratory borings to be performed. I did communicate this with Adrian, and we both agreed that we, should at least file the RDA for this work.
Okay. All right, looks pretty straightforward. I'll open up for public comment. Does anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the RDA for 15 Biskie Head Point? If you want to speak, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of the screen, or hitting *9 on your handheld device or tablet.
I see no comments from the public at this time.
Thank you. Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Next up is roll call commissioner comments.
Sure, commissioner comments. Commissioner Charpentier.
No comments.
Commissioner Cook.
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwell.
No comments.
Commissioner Sargent.
I just have one suggestion. It's more like a favor of, is that if there's going to be any boring in the tidal waters, not to have it in April and May, so it doesn't disturb the Alewife Run that's in Little River.
Thank you. Co-Chair Mangala
No comments.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
No comments.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Smith, are you okay with that request, that one request from Mr. Sargent to not disturb during the April-May period, or are you planning to do this
well,
sooner?
we were actually scheduled to do this within the next week or two.
In the
May.
water, though? Are you doing it in water?
Well, I mean, the ones that are on the pier are could be susceptible, at least the 2 outer ones in water. We could try to work the tides with that and try to do it at a low tide condition. Unfortunately, I may not have that luxury due to timing, and some of these borings that do go down 40 feet could take a little while. So we can't guarantee we're going to be high and dry, but
We'd appreciate the effort. How's that?
that would be good. And but yeah, we're looking to try to schedule this before the marina and boating season really takes place.
Okay, well, he can make, Mr. Sargent, are you okay with that, or?
I would prefer that he could delay it as much as possible. There's much less of a run towards the end of May than there is towards the beginning of May.
Yeah, I can check with the drillers. I mean, typically every time they give me a schedule, it is usually blown off a week or so. And they had they did say the probably the first or second, or not first because it's already the first and I haven't heard back from them, but at least the second and third week. So we can try to do that. We can try to do it at least mid
to late May.
maybe the week of the 17th, actually. And I think low tide that week is during the day, so that actually might work out the best.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, without any more comments, do we want to move to close the hearing?
Sure. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1696 at 15 Biskie Head Point.
Charpentier, second.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chair Mangala,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination on RDA 1696 with the proviso that the applicant will delay the boring process as much as possible for protection of the run. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Charpentier, seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chair Mangala,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, RDA 1697 473 Washington Street, Ashburn Development Corp. representing.
I'm going to have to recuse myself. Excuse me.
Oh, okey doke.
Okay, so the applicant is here tonight. I'm going to pull you out and promote you to panelist, Mr. Sanborn, unless you have someone else who would like to represent you. No? Okay, go ahead.
Hello?
Are you with us, sir? I see him in panelist. So you'll have
Can you
to.
hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yep. we
Yep.
can hear you.
Okay, sorry. It's William Sanborn. I am the president treasurer of Ashburn Development. And I'm here tonight because I need a letter to submit to National Grid. National Grid will be, is designing the electric work for underground for this project. And they need a determination from the conservation that there are no wetlands on the property. And there are no wetlands on the property at this time. The subdivision has gone through, been approved by the Gloucester Planning Board, and it was determined back then that there were no subdivisions, no wetlands on the property. So what we're really looking for is just a letter from Conservation Commission saying there are no wetlands on the property.
Okay. I'll open up for public comment. Does anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the project at 473 Washington Street? You may do so by raising your hand with the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen, or you may hit *9 on your phone or tablet.
There are no comments from the public at this time.
Thank you, Adrian. So commissioners, basically I got called too for this. It's just the bottom line is, I guess, National Grid, I've looked into it, is had some troubles with other municipalities about doing egregious work, and therefore they won't touch any project unless they get a letter from the local commission saying that there are no wetlands on this property. And I would just ask, would you agree, Adrian, that there aren't any wetlands on that property?
The property subject to the subdivision, there are no wetlands. That's correct.
So I will open up for comments from the commission. Commissioner comments now. but that's the gist of it. There is no wetland. He just needs a letter saying so.
Okay, Commissioner comments, Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
Comments?
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent. Oh, he has recused himself.
Yep.
Co-Chair Mangala
No comments.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
No comment.
Thank you.
So with that, Andrew, I guess you can just move this
Sure.
to close.
Sure. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1697 at 473 Washington Street.
Carpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent, or Commissioner Gradwell, sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent is recused. Co-Chair Mangala
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves for negative determination for RDA 1697 at 473 Washington Street.
Carpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent is recused. Co-Chair Mangala
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You're all set.
Thank you.
Next up, notice of intent, 28-2780, 476 Washington Street. And I don't want to mispronounce your name.
Zergabel.
Zergabel? Zergabel?
Correct. Yes.
Wow. I usually butcher them a lot worse than that.
I forgive you.
Name and address for the record, please.
Ann Zergabel, 476 Washington Street.
Brief description of the project.
It is a pier repair on a pier that was built by the Portsmouth Coal Company in right prior to 1920. And our family's been hopefully thoughtful stewards of this pier since home ownership 38 years ago. And we are currently wanting to be proactive, and we want to support the two sides of the pier that are bowing out in the middle of the 40 feet expanse. No rocks have been displaced at this moment, but we are anxious to begin this project so that we can prevent that from happening. We've called in Gateway Consultants, and they have beautifully led us to a pier repair of the front 40 feet in 1914, a project we brought, 2014, a project we brought before you, and we've called them back to lead us in this repair. The repair narrative is following Gateway Consultants' exact plan, which would be to provide a 12-inch thick coarse stone base, and the existing large granite stones that are currently there would be reset. The wall would have no further height, and we would provide well-drained granular backfill on the interior of this wall, and we would like to put a fabric filter along the wall. We also have been advised to put a temporary float boom in the Mill River area during construction. And we just heard back today from DMF, and they have added two considerations and yet support this project. Forrest added that to minimize sedimentation, that all activities be performed on dry land. And they also recommend that that there be no excavation or fill activities performed during high tide. Other than that, we are looking for your review.
Okay, I'll open up a public comment first. Anyone in the public wish to speak for or against this project at 476 Washington Street? You may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or tablet.
Sure, there is a member of the public who would like to speak. Tom Manny, I'm going to allow you to talk and then ask you to unmute. Go ahead, you have the floor.
Good evening. Hi, Ann. My name is Tom Mantle. I've been friends with the Zurgerville family, Ann and her late husband, John, and their children for more than a few years. I've been guests at their property on numerous occasions, and I can attest that anything that Ann and her family want to do with this pier will be done with the highest quality and the most professional execution that the commission should expect. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, Adrian?
I see no other comments at this time.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Commissioners, you want to, Adrian, you want to do roll call commissioner comments?
Sure, comments from commissioners. Commissioner Charpentier.
No comments.
Commissioner Cook.
It says a pier, but is this actually a seawall repair? And it's really just a matter of terminology, but it seems like it would be better characterized as a seawall repair versus a pier repair.
Great point. And I defer to Gateway Consultants, and that was their terminology.
Okay.
Pier repair.
Okay, I mean, that was the only comment they had. Other than that, I thought you did a great job presenting it.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Bradwell.
No comment, and I agree it's a pair.
Commissioner Sargent, are you back with us?
Thank you, Ann. Good job. But I want to make sure that if any granite blocks need to be replaced, that they won't be replaced, by water, that they'll somehow, all the work will be by land, and there won't be any additional riprap, placed down. That's it.
Thank you.
Co-Chairman Gullah
No comments.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
No comments.
Thank you.
Okay, then with that, unless there are any other comments, we got a few conditions here from working as per Mr. Sargent. Otherwise, I guess we can move to close.
Certainly. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the hearing. Do we have a DEP number for this?
Yep.
Yep.
2780.
2780. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282780 at 476 Washington Street.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the project for NOI 0282780 at 476 Washington Street with the conditions incorporated from DMF and from Mr. Sargent.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, notice from the 10/28.
Thank you.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Next up, notice of intent 28-2778, 542 Washington Street, Miller, Timothy Miller applicant representing. A lot of Washington Street.
I know.
Is Mr. Miller with us?
Yes, hi, I'm here.
Name and address for the record, sir?
Sure. Tim and Melissa Miller, 542 Washington Street, here in Gloucester.
Brief description of the project?
Sure. We're applying for a 10A seasonal float permit. We plan on having a 10 by 20 float with a 3 by 40 aluminum ramp with flow through decking. We just bought the property not even a year ago, and well, there you go. There's my little description. I mean, my little
Less
sketch.
is more, less is more.
Okay, great.
Most people keep talking, just dig a hole or something, so.
Okay, cool.
Better when you keep it brief. So, okay, I'll just move right to public comment first, as usual. Now's the time for anyone in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 542 Washington Street. You may do so now by using the raise your hand button or hitting *9 on your tablet or handheld device.
There are no members of the public to comment at this time.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Next up would be commissioner comments and questions. So if you want to start with roll call comments.
Sure, for comments. Commissioner Charpentier,
It looks straightforward. I have no comments.
Commissioner Cook,
I do. The first question is, how do you plan on securing the ramp to the top of it? I'm going to say it's a stone wall. Are you putting in a concrete platform that it's going to be adhered to? And then where it is going to be seasonal, so the ramp is just going to be pulled out completely?
okay.
We answer at the end.
You can answer at the end, yep. Commissioner Gradwell,
Barry. All right, why don't we move on?
Commissioner Gradwell, can you unmute? I see you're unmuted now.
I didn't see anything holding the float in place and was wondering if we should have some kind of moorings on the float. I'm not familiar with that part of Washington Street.
Okay. Commissioner Sargent,
Yeah, a profile depicting the height of the gangway over mature salt marsh vegetation would be helpful because there has to be a certain height ratio. And the floating dock would need standoffs, would need to be secured with helical anchors with elastic rods. And the floating dock would need to be removed seasonally and not stored on top of the marsh. And all material would have to be non-toxic to the marine environment. And I'm wondering if there should be a riverfront alternative analysis.
He has one.
I didn't see that. Okay.
It's in additional information. I was going to bring that up too.
Okay. And DMF and Shellfish need to comment. That's it.
thank you. Co-Chair Mangala,
I think Mr. Sargent covered all my comments.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Agreed. I agree with Mr. Sargent's comments, but we do need to vote on the alternatives analysis. He is only impacting 10 square feet of the riverfront area. Is that correct, Mr. Miller?
Correct.
Okay. And his alternatives analysis, if I may, there is no other way to access the water other than a ramp and float. The ramp and float will have a smaller impact on the resource area than if we were going to go on top of the mud flats.
So
That's
do you want to
correct.
move that in turn to, for a vote for the alternatives analysis, Anjo?
Yes, Commissioner Jackson moves to accept the alternatives analysis for NOI 0282778 at 542 Washington Street.
Carpenter seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chair Mangala,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes. Are we ready to move forward?
Yeah, so I guess the next step would be there's a few things that we typically like to see on these drawings, Mr. Miller. One of
Okay.
them being is a vertical, a cross section through. First of all, we need to understand how that's going to be anchored. And then a cross section through showing its relationship to the marsh below. Because we like to have the ramp high enough so marsh grasses don't get killed by being overshadowed. So we need to see that section. Did you provide one by chance or no?
So I didn't provide a sketch for the side view. I apologize for that. I do have some photos of the area. So the ramp will be pinned to some granite that's there. And so it won't impact the wetlands in any way. And it will, be pinned to the granite stones that are there. And then they will be, and then of course it'll be on the float. The float will be anchored by the helical anchors, 2 of them that will be out there, and then 2 cross lines that will also be pinned to 2 large granite boulders that exist on the wall. The ramp the decking is going to be decked with what they call the flow-through decking, so that will allow light for the marsh. And it also will be sitting up at a minimum of 3 feet above the existing marsh. Someone had already mentioned that, this will, putting the float and the ramp will definitely have a whole lot less impact on the marsh than, through traffic or walking through with kayaks and foot traffic. And the only other thing I can say is everybody to the left and to the right of us all have existing floats. And so we would just, we would like to have one of those as well.
Okay, so there's a good chance, it's not the end of the world, but there's a good chance you're not gonna get, we're gonna need a little more information before we can finalize the vote on this. So what's probably gonna have to happen is, because there are other things, all the things you said were good, but we need those on the drawing. We need that section to show if there's going to be an impact to the grass or the resource. We need you to also note that you'll have standoffs on the platform. So when the tide goes out, based on the photos, it looks like it will bottom out. We need to allow the dock to float, stand, that's why we call them, like a table, so it doesn't impact the shellfish below. So we're gonna need that on a document or on the drawing stating that.
Okay.
When you anchor it to the shore, you're gonna create a concrete, when you're digging in resource area like this, or buffer to resource, actually riverfront, so you're in resource, but you need to kind of show the concrete pad and what you're going to do there as well. Is it going to be a 3 foot by 3 foot piece of concrete? Because normally we require some mitigation for any impervious surfaces created. If there's an existing concrete pad there and you're anchoring to that, note that, and we can move on that.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Yeah.
Sure.
So just to add to answer there will be no digging. We are not going to be pouring a pad. We are using the existing rock that's there. And we plan on pinning it. They are substantial boulders, and we plan on sort of securing the ramp to that. We'll probably build a couple steps up. If you look at the photo to the right, So just so that, and they'll be sitting on top of these large boulders that sit approximately, 30 inches above the land grade, and and then the marsh is substantially lower. But I can understand that you need a photo from the side just to get a better vantage of that. And I can also provide that diagram, that sort of side diagram. Someone had mentioned the person's name who's building our float. He's well known in the area, and those standoff legs are part of what we're purchasing from him. But at the same time, we can provide a diagram of the actual float as well. And that's pretty much it.
I think it is. So you do have a little bit of a laundry list, and again, we won't be able to move it until it's all on the same document for the next meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So we will move to continue, but I would like to do roll call comments one more time for the commission, Adrian, in case I missed anything.
Sure. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Charpentier.
No comment.
Commissioner Cook.
Just to add on to what Rob just said, we do need to have the Shellfish and Harbor Master letter.
Sure.
Commissioner Gradwell.
No comment other than what's been said.
Commissioner Sargent.
I agree with what, Commissioner Gradwell just said.
Co-Chairman Gola.
No comments.
And Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
No comment.
Okay, so you have your list. So what we're going to do is move to continue for 2 weeks to the, what is it, the 19th? 17th?
It is May 19th. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue the hearing for NOI 0282778 at 542 Washington Street to the Conservation Commission meeting of May 19th, 2021.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gola.
Yes.
And Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so Ms. Miller, we'll see you in 2 weeks with that info, please.
You got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you now. Have a good night.
You too.
Next up, notice of intent 28-2783, 155 Winger Chic Road, Combe, Bill Manuel of Wetlands and Land Management representing.
Hi, Bill Manuel, Wetlands and Land Management, Danvers, Mass. This is a kind of a soft intro to a project you'll be seeing more of. David Combe and his wife Colleen Fitzgibbons have purchased the property at 155 Winger Chic Road. And just to put this in perspective, this is directly adjacent to the property at 132 rear Winger Chic that you just issued an order of conditions for the house rebuild. That house was sort of swallowed up by the dune erosion, and you permitted a house further back on the dune. Mr. Combe and Ms. Fitzgibbons will be approaching the commission probably in 6 months to a year for plans to rehabilitate the home they built. But in the meantime, their property has been dramatically affected by the dune erosion that's happened on this end of the beach. And they're very concerned about it. And they want to, as they do visit the property and they take walks on the beach, the only way to get down to the beach from their property is via an existing path that kind of goes straight over the dune scarp. And just in a few short months, they're realizing the degradation it's causing, and they certainly do not want to exacerbate any more dune erosion. The picture on the left, you can see what used to be there for dune, and the picture on the right is an aerial from February of this year that shows that basically the dune has eroded all the way back to the bedrock core underneath the dune in this section of Gloucester. So what we're proposing is an elevated walkway, which is consistent with best management practices for traversing over dunes onto the beach. There is it's an excellent illustration in the photo on the right. They'll build a new step off of the existing deck, and the uppermost red line is a path for the proposed elevated walkway. It is selected so that it takes advantage of areas that are naturally devoid of vegetation. It goes to the precipice of the current precipice of the dune, and then it will have seasonal aluminum steps that will be installed to be able to traverse over the almost vertical dune scarp that's there now. The erosion has exposed bedrock at the base of the dune, and the bottom of the steps will rest directly on bedrock. The boardwalk itself will be 3 feet wide and 3 feet tall, supported on wooden posts, which will be hand dug into the sand. It will be constructed in a progressive manner out from the house so that the walkway can be used to transport additional material as needed as they move out from the from the house to the edge of the dune. The entire run of the walkway is 55 feet long. The steps off the house are an additional 9 feet, and the aluminum stairs are about 18 feet long. So it's a fairly compact little project here, but it will eliminate the foot traffic that is currently happening from the side door of the house and over the dune scarp and down to the beach. So as I said, it's consistent with other dune walkway projects on Wingersheek. It's consistent with the best management practices for getting over the dunes. And the whole total footprint of the entire project is only 246 square feet. Now notice the photo on the left, the yellow line there, that is the limit of priority habitat and estimated habitat. I have filed for a MESA expedited review. They get 30 days, and we're about 14 days into that 30-day review period. So we're not ready to close the hearing, but I'm hopeful by the next hearing we'll have natural heritage comments about this. And obviously it's the piping plover that's here, and I'm sure we'll probably get a no take, perhaps with conditions similar to what they issued at the 132 rear property.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, let me open it up for the public first. Anyone who wishes to speak for or against the project at 155 Wingersheek Road may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen, or hitting *9 or on your tablet or handheld device.
Okay, so Tom Mantle has his hand up again. I'm going to ask you to unmute. And you have the floor. Go ahead.
Good evening, Commissioners and Bill.
Name and address of the record, sir.
My name is Tom Mantle. I reside at 1037 Washington Street in Gloucester, but I'm also the managing trustee for a family property at 79 Wingersheek Road. And as a result of winter storms in late 2013 and early 2014, we had a similar situation as being faced by Mr. Manuel and the Combs, in which there was a 10-foot escarpment created by beach erosion in front of 79 Wingersheek Road. And rather than trying to just create a sand ramp down from the top of the dune escarpment back down to the beach for access, we applied to the commission to put in a ramp similar to what Mr. Manuel is proposing, and an aluminum set of stairs, which were seasonally installed and seasonally removed. And the commission at that time required us not to put in posts, but rather helical bases, essentially big concrete bubbles with posts with metal rods going in various directions to support the ramp. And I noticed that Mr. Manuel had indicated that he was going to do regular posts. If it was a requirement for the commission to do that for us in a very similar situation in 2014, I'd like to ask the commission to consider imposing that as a condition. And Mr. Manuel, Bill, you're welcome to go by 79 Winter Street Road at any time. Go up to the end of the beach path and take a look at what we've got installed there. The ramp is still there. The beach is built up. And hopefully on your side of the beach or that side of the beach, it will build up again over time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Are you still on, Mr. Mantle?
Yes, I am.
Oh, so what are you expecting us to impose on him? You said extra.
Well, okay, so
Structure?
there were removable helical, I want to say helical, because I think the word was used at the time.
Yeah, they're a corkscrew kind of pipe. Yeah.
No, these are like concrete bubbles. And then there are rods that go through the concrete bubbles. The concrete bubbles support short posts that support the ramp. And then the concrete bubbles are underneath those. And then there are metal posts, metal rods that go through the concrete bubbles in various directions to anchor that. But the advantage with that is they're also, you can also remove those should the need arise. And that's what the commission required us to do in 2014 in order to be able to put the ramp in with the aluminum stairs in order to be able to access the beach.
Okay. I was on the commission then. I remember us doing a meeting with the entire Wingersheet community when we had that bite taken out of it. And I believe it was Attorney Nescar, was one of the local attorneys, McMahon, or that basically we did a stair replacement system because people were digging ramps into the dune and we didn't want that to happen because they were weakening the dune. And I remember us approving a stair design for everybody to take and use so they didn't have to do 14 architecturally approved stairs for everybody. We did one, but I do not remember this structural detail.
If you can search the records for 79.
We will. We'll take a look at it. But I have a pretty good memory, and I don't.
Don't get me wrong. We were happy to do it, and it's worked out pretty well. The ramp is still there. We don't really need it anymore because the beach is built up.
Okay.
But I was a member of the Conservation Commission as chairman long ago, and I was perfectly happy to comply with whatever the commission said at the time.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, anyone else with their hand up, Adrian?
Sorry about that. I do not see any other comments from the public at this time.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Mr. Manuel, you might as well, why don't we do roll call comments for the commissioners, Adrian?
Sure. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Charpentier.
No comments.
Commissioner Cook.
Yeah, the only comment I can say is I went out there right after 132 started to fall into the water, and 155 did allow me to access their property to try to get there, and it was extremely dangerous, and it's a pretty steep drop off getting down there. I know it's only gotten worse, so putting the stairs in there is a good idea. Never mind just for the safety, because it is very dangerous. It's down to bedrock in a lot of the areas along there, and it's getting worse. That whole stretch from the castles down to the marsh is just going back further and further every year. So I'm in support of this.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Gradwell.
I have no further questions. I do not remember this engineering change in 2014, and I'm very good at remembering engineering changes. I'll see if I can research some of that.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Sargent.
I want to congratulate the applicant for probably doing the right thing. And I'm wondering if there's any potential to revegetate the existing footpath as mitigation. That's it.
Okay. Co-Chairman Gullah,
No questions at this time.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Simply that we do have an alternatives analysis. The site is located upriver of the mapped mouth of the Essex River, and maybe we need to vote on that.
Okay. So why don't we do that now?
Okay.
And Joe, is everybody comfortable? Well, we'll find out if they're not.
Yeah, I guess we will. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the alternatives analysis for NOI 0282783 at 155 Wingershik Road.
Carpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we've covered that. Mr. Manuel, the only thing I have left to ask is, before we continue, is to look at that other apparatus, if you don't mind. And honestly, we'll do our research on our end to see what it was. And if there is a benefit to it, to the environment, we would be interested to use it. But again, I'm running a blank, so I don't even know, but it would probably be worthwhile for you to take a peek at it.
You know, I'm familiar with that used as a kind of a deck support post. And my only concern is that it's a hard structure that sits on the dune and it would kind of encapsulate it. So
If you're sure, I'm not gonna force you to use it, but if we look at or find our documentation that we did issue it over there and it seems fundamentally functional, we'll probably ask that you do it. So I would just take a quick look and be prepared to say yay or nay at the next meeting.
that's fine. And I'm sure the applicants would be happy to install some beach grass in the path area. So I don't think that's a problem at all.
So when do you want to continue to?
Let's please continue this to the May 19th agenda, please.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue the hearing for NOI 0282783 at 155 Wingershik Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of May 19th, 2021.
Carpentier seconds.
Roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, notice of intent, no DEP number that I see on my chart, 24 Fernwood Lake Ave, Lee. I'm going to say Mingzu Yang, applicant and representing.
I saw Ming on here, so we'll give him a minute.
Hello? She's still muted, I think.
Yeah, can you see her?
I see her on my list of participants. She's muted and no video. Panelists, I mean.
But she might have stepped away for a second because she did have video a short while ago.
Okay, we can come back. We can table it and come back.
Okay. So next up would be notice of intent 28-2781. 2781, 77 Wingershik Road, Peck, John Judd at Gateway Consultants representing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. John Judd here, representing the applicant Nathan Peck, who I believe is in attendance as well for this project at 77 Wingershik Road.
Your address, John, for the record, just for
my address is PO Box 6085 in Gloucester.
Okay.
And the proposal is for, this is an existing house lot. It's 34,000 square feet in the Wingershik section on Coffins Beach. The proposal, and thank you, Adrian, for bringing up the aerial. is to add a 12-foot by 24-foot expansion onto the garage that is at the front of the lot adjacent to the road, as well as a 900 a slight expansion to the existing, I shouldn't say slight, but it's less than 1,000 square feet of expansion onto that existing dwelling on the left-hand side, the westerly side of the house. So my site plan, thank you, shows in more detail the resource areas, as well as the proposed erosion control, existing layout, and the proposed layout in dark lines for the proposed improvements. There is a chart over on the upper right-hand side of the plan, which goes through the existing and proposed impervious areas. The existing dwelling itself is 1,206 square feet, and the existing garage footprint is 688 square feet. The proposed dwelling would be 1,915 square feet, and the garage with the addition would be 976. So you're looking at about 990 square feet of total increase in impervious area. So we're looking to mitigate plant with local native dune grass where possible to mitigate the 200% that this board likes to see within a coastal dune, which is the entire site is technically coastal dune per the CZM maps. You can see the buffer zone associated with the coastal dune, and the existing and proposed improvements are within the coastal dune as well. And so we're looking to mitigate that. The garage itself is within the 100-foot buffer to the freshwater BVW bordering vegetated wetland across the street. So we are proposing mitigation for both increases in impervious area, as well as erosion control and snow fencing to indicate the limit of the proposed work to any workers that are out there. So we can answer any questions that you might have at this time.
Okay, thank you. We'll open up for public comment first. Anyone in the public wish to speak for or against the project at 77 Wingersheek Road? You may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or tablet or handheld device.
Okay. So before I begin, I just want to comment to Ming Zhu. I can see that you have your hand up. I see that you're back on. What we're going to do is go through these next two hearings, and then we'll come back around to yours and take it at the bottom of the agenda so we can move these while we have this representative in front of us. But I want you to know that I can see that you're here. There is a member. Oh, there are no comments from the public at this time.
Okay. So seeing none, hearing none, opposed.
I'm sorry. There is a member of the public, Tom Mantle. Go ahead. I'm going to ask you to unmute. And you may have.
I'm sorry for taking up the commission's time this evening. It's a threefer. It's a triple. But again, I'm the trustee, Tom Mantle, 1037 Washington Street, but I'm the trustee for the family house located at 79 Wingersheek Road, which is directly to the west of Nate and Jane Peck. And I would like to state that the family and the trust is in full support of their proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else, Adrian?
No, there are no other comments from the public at this time.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close public comment. Why don't we move into roll call comments from the commissioner?
Sure. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Charpentier.
No comments.
Commissioner Cook.
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwell.
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent.
I'm wondering if the addition to the house will be elevated to allow migration of sand. And it appears that there might be some foot traffic in the mitigation area by the stairway and access to the propane tanks. I'm also wondering about the time of the year that you're planning on planting dune grass. It's usually recommended late fall to early spring. And I'm trying to figure out how that works time-wise with this project. That's it.
Co-Chair Mangala.
I concur with what Mr. Sargent just said or asked.
And co-chairwoman Jackson.
No comment.
Okay, so Mr. Judd, if you want to comment on Mr. Sargent's comments about the elevation, for sand migration and foot traffic and the like.
Yes, thank you. And so let me just get that last comment that Dave had first, if I could maybe go backwards. The dune grass would be planted in the fall to give it the best shot as we're heading into, by the time this project gets mobilized, it would probably be sometime in June, and it might even take place later in the summer. So, you know, it really depends on Mr. Peck, but certainly we would do it during those ideal times of the fall. And I agree with Dave that those are the optimal times, and that's what it would take place, when it would take place rather. As far as the elevated, the first floor is proposed to match the existing, which is elevation 13.74 for the first floor. And that would match the same. It was not intended to put this addition on elevate it with the free flow of sand, because the existing grade there at the ground is about 12.7. So it would only give us about a foot to create any kind of free flow of sand. And as you know, we're less than 50% as far as the footprint, to have to meet the full standard. And certainly the PECs, this project would be cost prohibitive for them to do the whole house over, to put it all on pilings. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, Dave, but the answer was they were going to match it with a conventional spread footing and mitigate 200% of the American dune grass as shown.
Okay. I don't know if this is a new one on me. I haven't done a non-pile structure for a long time on this beach. You're not required to, is that what I'm hearing?
Well, the standard is, Mr. Chairman, that the 50% rule, as you know, once you start taking apart a house and expanding it by more than 50%, then that triggers the CZM standard for pilings.
No, I was going more towards the concept of doing pilings just for the addition. We've, I guess what we've done in the past out here, again, it's been a while since I've actually had I've seen someone do this, is we've done strip footings with openings in them to still allow the sand to move under, because there obviously is no basement. So basically you end up with like little pockets. I believe it was 57 Winger Chic that we did it on first, because they actually poured a whole foundation and we had them put slots in it where like basement windows would go to allow for the sand to still move under and through. If you don't have to do that, I'm just, to me, it seems like this, I don't know if, did we get any comments from DEP?
No comments. They issued the file number with no comments.
Okay. Then I guess it should be okay, or they would have caught it as well. So I'm just, again, we haven't done one. Everybody's pushing everything up on piers out there. It's just unique to have one staying at grade level.
Yeah, and the PECs were aware of that if they were to do a major renovation, more than 50%, then it would trigger, as you know, the 50% rule to make it fully meet the standard for sand movement.
Okay. All right, that was it from me. And Joe, I guess you're up.
No comments.
Okay.
Okay.
Dave, I don't know, did that cover everything you wanted, or do you talked about foot traffic too before I jumped in?
Yes, I did. Right. It looks like there'd be foot traffic from the stairs as well as access to the propane tanks based on where the mitigation area would be.
Yeah, as far as the filling of the propane tanks, the truck would typically go back up into the gravel driveway, and that length, this is at 1 inch equals 20. So you're under 40 feet total between the edge of the truck and the propane tanks as it fills up at this point. So typically the hose can reach that without a problem.
But I think there would be foot traffic through the.
But there's definitely going to be foot traffic there. Are you thinking maybe a boardwalk across that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or,
I mean,
or
that-
even the mats that allow the grass to grow through, that would allow them to still use it as traffic, but not crush the dune grass.
And we were open to that, and I can certainly modify the plan to indicate that around that westerly side of the house for foot traffic, which is, is inevitable for a house like this.
It also looks like where the stairs are off of the deck, it would be foot traffic to the access to the beach.
Correct. All in your new.
Yep, so we can modify that to sort of eliminate that section as far as being mitigation planting.
Yeah, maybe there's even further, I don't know the vegetation situation here, but maybe there's an opportunity to find some other slots to fill so you can have people walk around there rather than put it right where, they're gonna need to get around the building. Maybe you extend it more out, do more work out near the primary dune as far as dune grass plantings.
Yeah, there's certainly opportunities out there which I can take a closer look at. And I can modify.
That would be appreciated because, Dave's right. You're gonna plant all this stuff and it's gonna get trampled. It's just to get around the building. So it might be better to just get it out of the way so it doesn't impact anybody.
Sure.
Okay. Do you mind, can we continue this next meeting and you'll take a look at that?
Well, I can certainly modify the plan to accommodate that and do an equal balance if that's okay, and work that out with Adrian, if that would be acceptable.
I hate to carry this 2 more weeks for you, but I'd like to see it just because it's a real sensitive area.
Sure.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yep.
Dave and I obviously have some concerns here and I'd love us to be happy before we sign off. Okay. So unless any other commissioners have any other comments, why don't we move to continue this?
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282781 at 77 Wingershik Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of May 19th, 2021.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullo,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, notice of intent 28-2782, 6 Wyoma Road, Wilson, John Judd, Gateway Consultants representing. Name and address for the record again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, John Judd, engineer, Gateway Consultants, Gloucester, Mass. This is a proposal for 24 feet of improvements to an existing condition of erosion that's taking place on the westerly side of Dr. Wilson's property. We did submit some photographs of what was proposed and what's existing in the area. We do have a site plan as well, but you can see the subject site is encompassed in yellow here. This is at near the base of Waterman Road. Those of you familiar with this, adjacent to Point Road, which is on the right of this. So we're just to the left there, and there's tidal action that's been coming in more recently that is sort of affecting the shoreline and causing erosion to the left of the house or the west of the house, if you will. This is a site where the house was rebuilt within the last 10 years. They did a nice job with the new septic system, updating the septic system and renovating the house in the existing garage. So Dr. Wilson would like to fortify, you can see on the site plan, and using loose rock you can see we have a section view of boulder treatment with a filter fabric that would be underlined under that. We're not looking at a vertical wall or anything like that. We're just looking to stabilize the existing erosion that's taking place along that section of the walkway and the neighbor's property line. We did have some photos. I didn't know if they showed up, Adrian, in the package, but if they are available, if not, that's really the extent. Yeah, so that's looking at it from the with your back toward the ocean. If you kind of zoom out, you can sort of see what's happening is, and those boulders would remain there. What's happening is you're getting tidal action that's going up and causing erosion. And it's been sort of disconcerting to the Wilsons, and they're not looking to create any kind of area or fill. They're just looking to fortify it with boulders in a filter fabric base. Just to, we did have one other photo of the adjacent property, which is essentially what they want to do. And I walked over it. It's on the one house over. So I'm not sure if that showed up, Adrian, but that's the proposed conditions. There it is right there. So it's basically just looking to stabilize what the base, there it is, of the erosion that's taking place. And this was approved on Wyoma, 2 houses over, not long ago. And that's essentially what the Wilsons are hoping to achieve.
Okay. I'll open up for public comment. Does anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the project at 6 Wyoma Road? If so, you may speak by pressing the raise your hand button at the lower down at the bottom of your screen. And if you are on a phone or tablet, you can hit *9.
Okay, Dr. Wilson has raised his hand. I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My father built this house 70 years ago. And so, I've seen the changes in this beach, which most of it's been positive over the years. But this area back in 1978, in a big blizzard, took a beating back then, which is the highest I'd ever seen the ocean in the beach. And the neighbors put some rocks in there to kind of protect their side. Back then we didn't. And then back in 2016, when we had those 4 big blizzards, we had some significant changes in that area. And we asked at that particular point, and at that particular point, it wasn't approved. But now this past storm, this winter, did some further damage and kind of undermining and destroying that area. And we just want to protect our house and the house next door, and just kind of diffuse some of the energy in the ocean that comes up there. That's why we don't want a kind of flat wall or whatever. So, and that was by the suggestion with Mr. Judge. So I appreciate you looking at this, and thank you for letting me speak.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else, Adrian?
There are no other comments at this time.
Seeing none, hearing none, close public comment period. Okay, Commissioner, roll call comments. Adrian,
Sure.
please.
Comments from the commissioners. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwall,
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the function of supplying sediment to the beach from the coastal bank would be compromised, particularly with a filter fabric, which would prevent that. It appears that access would be to the beach via Knox Way, and I'm wondering if Knox Way will be damaged or blocked. And there should be a spill kit on site if you're going to be using equipment on the beach. And work would need to be coordinated around tidal cycles based on where the ledge is and where you have to go for mean high water, as well as astronomically high tides and storms. And I also believe that this is in a National Heritage estimated habitat area. And I didn't see that checked. And I think MISA should be looking at that as well. That's it.
Co-Chairman Gullo.
Again, everything Dave said, in addition to, I would like the engineer to take the time to make sure we're right on the property line. I don't want, on these projects, we've had them quite a few times on here. We've had the same problem with those storms a few years back, that it just needs to stay on his property, the work, that's all.
Okay. And Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
No comment.
Thank you.
So John, we gave you a list of comments there that me and Mrs. Sargent had. Mine was pretty simple, but.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
want
so
this-
so the third page of our submittal includes the habitat area. And you can see, I'm not sure if you have that, let's see, I'm looking at your documents, Adrian, but anyway, it's shown as the third page in our document that is, yes, if you toggle down 2 sheets, if you could, there it is right there. So that shows the estimated habitat section. You can see Knox Way, Dave. And then the yellow line to the west of the house, which is on the lower side, you can see we're outside of the habitat area with what we're proposing. And again, you can see the neighbor's house right there. So just to the right of where the cursor is where the work is going to be going. You can see that wing on the house there. That's a pretty good indicator of where we are. We're not going to be extending beyond the front of the house. We're just about where the cursor is the extent of the work. So we're not going into the habitat area with that.
What about the comment on, Adrian, this may be a question for you too. David mentioned, basically, I would assume, Dave, I don't want to speak for you, but it was something I was thinking about as well on some other projects, but does filter fabric, it does allow for some sediment. I think the concern here is armoring coastal bank. Is that what you're concerned about, Dave?
Yes.
I don't know if that applies here, Adrian, or not to you.
Well, that is the question. I think that the installation of some large boulders here is fine. I'm not sure that the filter fabric is necessary or necessarily going to help. There is definitely going to be erosion and sedimentation no matter what because of the turbidity and the velocity in that area. So it may be more harmful to be installing something like that than to just sort of allow it to grade over time as it will.
Okay, thank you. So I don't know what you do with that, John, but I think that's.
Yeah, I can easily remove that from the detail. I tend to agree, after looking at the photos on the one next 2 houses over, there was, the constant ebb and flow of sediment in between the rocks and so forth. So I think it'll naturally kind of take its course as far as sediment accumulation and give and take back, if you will. So I can easily remove that from the detail, the section detail.
Okay. If there are no other commission, Dave, did you have anything else I didn't cover?
Well, I'm still concerned about, traveling over the beach with equipment into the National Heritage area, even though the project itself isn't in that. You wouldn't allow this on Good Harbor Beach. And so
Apparently people do drive excavators on Good Harbor Beach.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm sort of concerned about is that's where the access is going to be is over Coffin Beach into that area.
There's no way to access it from their property, Mr. Judd?
There isn't, Mr. Chairman, because the garage is there. It's a very limited area. So any machinery that would go down Knox Way would have to have a protection for the new ramp. If you remember, we came in for the Waterman Association to repair that. And so it's in pretty good shape right now. And there's a concrete ramp that goes down. You can see we have a temporary access notation on that, and I agree with Mr. Sargent. Obviously, we're going to be paying attention to the tide cycles. The applicant would like to do this before the crowds start coming down to the beach in the summertime. They would be using a rubber matted excavator to minimize any kind of damage to both to the ramp and also to the beach, but that would be done at a low tide cycles. And we've already met with Matt Aranio out there, and he's done other work on this property, and he's quite familiar with the tide cycles.
If I could make a suggestion, on our beach management plan, we have the capability of using a York rake on the beach for cleaning it up. If we decide to use that, we have to have a certified bird person walk the beach within 24 hours of the work being done to ensure that there's no piping plover habitat in the area. So, I mean, that's basically the requirement from National Heritage, that we have a certified person check for piping plover habitat before we bring mechanical equipment onto the beach for raking. So perhaps we could make that a condition here, that 24 hours prior to the work being done, a certified person, Dave Brimmer or somebody like that, and they even allowed the conservation agent to do it the first time that we did it, to walk the area to ensure that there's no piping plover habitat before they bring the equipment on. Just
Good idea, Bill. I also think that, not as a pushback, I hear what you're saying, Dave. I also think it's a little different what happened on Good Harbor. People are driving, that they're just egregiously not asking and driving about the dune without, asking anybody. They're asking, requesting, and I think if we put spill kits in place and they make it a very sensitive approach and get in and get out, I think I'd be okay with it because it's a request to do something. I think that'll stabilize that area a little bit. But I do hear your concerns. But for me, I think I could let it pass that they're going to come on the site. How many days would this take by chance, John?
Again, this is only 24 feet across by maybe 18 feet. So it's not a huge area. Matt could have the product ready, the boulders ready, and I would say within 2 days have all this done in and out of there.
Then I'm comfortable with that. With spill kits in place, I'm okay with that, I think. And then with Bill Cook's suggestion that you get somebody to walk the site the day before or so to make sure we don't have any nesting of any birds in that area, that'd be ideal. So with that, I think unless anyone else has any more comments, I think we should just move to close and see where it goes.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282782 at 6 Wyoma Road.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chair Mangala,
Yes, with the conditions that, again, we have spill kits. It's a 2-day, maybe 3-day project at tops. They would, if it goes further than that, you'll let the agent know that it's taking longer, that you have some sort of expert that can walk the beach 24 hours prior to make sure there's no bird or animal habitat in the area prior to work and beginning. That spill kits are all in place, up gradient and on the beach. Just in case, on the beach side, I should say, for the equipment, and using a soft machine if there is one, as far as, what is the term for those? The ones that don't, the tracked ones, is that what they
Yeah,
are?
it's going to be a rubber tracked
Rubber extracting machine. Yep. That's it for me.
Okay, and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes, and Rob, we're only closing the public hearing at this point,
Oh, well.
but
you
your
can have that-
conditions were eloquent.
Yeah.
So Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0282782 at 6 Wyoma Road, including all of the modifications and conditions that Mr. Gullah just recited.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent.
With all of the conditions, as well as the removal of the filter fabric.
Ooh,
Yes.
big one. Thanks. Dave.
Co-Chairman Gullah
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going back to 28 dash no DP number 24 Fernwood Lake Ave, Mitsu Yang.
Yes.
How you doing? Sorry we had to bump you. We tried getting you on before.
I'm sorry, the public signal's no good.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, we're having some feedback.
thank you.
They have two units working.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, shut down one.
You have to shut down one of your devices. We're getting an echo.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, but you have, someone else has a device on, it sounds like. You
Okay,
can only have one device on or we get an echo.
sure. Better now?
Better.
Okay.
Name and address for the record?
Yes, sir. My name is Min Ju Yang. I'm the owner of the 24 Fernwood Lake Avenue in Gloucester. There is a deck in my house. Have a very bad situation. It's almost fall down. So I want apply a permit to rebuild a safe deck.
Okay, is it in place of an existing deck?
Hello? Yes.
You said it's the existing deck, you're gonna, the one you're going to remove, you're gonna put it exactly back? Oh,
Yes.
okay. Let me open it up for public comment. Does anybody in the public wish to speak towards the project at 24 Fernwood Lake? If you want to speak, you may do so by pressing the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen, or you may use *9 on your handheld device or phone.
There are no comments from the public at this time.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. This seems pretty straightforward. Am I missing something, Adrian?
Hello?
Co-Chairman Gullah, the applicant does need to submit this plan set to the DEP for the analyst to review, so they have yet to issue a file number.
Oh, because they haven't sent it into the DEP, is that what you're saying?
They sent the notice of intent in, but they did not send the plan set. So there
Oh,
they have
okay.
plans, and then there's the need for the narrative to be a little bit more robust for DEP to be able to see what they have in mind and approve it.
Okay. So Ming-Su, you need to do more work. We don't understand enough of the project on the drawings. You need to put more information on the drawings, and then you need to send the drawings to the DEP so they can review it, and then they will issue a number, your DEP number. But we can't do that until you add more information to the drawings and send it to the DEP, Department of Environmental Protection. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So we're gonna continue you 2 weeks so you can send that stuff in and we can get a DEP number, okay?
DEP.
Yeah,
DEP.
Department of Environmental Protection.
Okay,
You mail this to them. You want to do it soon, so But first put more information, because there's not enough information here to show us what you want to, where the deck exactly is, what's coming down, what's being built, and how they're being built. We don't have enough information here to make a ruling. That make sense?
Okay, other request, can you send me the email or?
I can send you a follow-up email, Meg.
We'll send you a follow-up email of what you need to do and where to send it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry you had to wait all night for that.
No problem.
Okay, can we move to continue this, Joe?
May I make
Yes.
a comment? You know,
Of course.
I think the hashed area is going to be additional decking, and the brook that they're showing on the left of the property is correct, but the city wetland maps are incorrect, and it shows a perennial stream that somehow jogged to the left. If you look at the city wetland maps, you see there's a disconnect from the lower section from the upper section. It really should be connected to the right of the property there. The city wetland maps, where there's that little indentation, that's the outlet from Fernwood Lake.
Huh.
So are you saying,
I think it's within the perennial stream.
so you're saying she's riverfront?
That's right.
Okay, so she would need an alternatives analysis as well.
As well as there's new decks, you know.
Can you send that to them too, Adrian, that they need an explain an alternative, giving them an example of an alternatives analysis?
I am curious about that too.
Yeah. There definitely seems something amiss here.
But we have the old deck, we just rebuild.
Yes, you can do that, but when when you're near buffers and resources like this, you may actually be in riverfront. You need to let the Department of Environmental Protection review your plans to give you a DEP number. Basically, they review it and they say, okay, this is fine, and then they send you a number. We can't review it or approve it or do anything until we get that information. They may have you do something different, that's all.
Okay, I think we need to clarify if those X areas on the drawing are actually new construction. Because the applicant did state that she was replacing the deck exactly the same way it was. Although there are two areas that are Xed on the, that does appear like it's new decking.
Right.
So that's the question. If she was replacing an existing deck and keeping the same footings.
That could even be an RDA.
Yeah, but if she's adding decking.
Right.
So that,
Ming Su, are you just replacing one deck? That's it? Or a bunch of, we can't tell from the drawing what you're not doing and what you are doing. There's too many lines and not enough description. Do you know what I mean?
There's just only one deck, and this deck go to the lake. That is the same, just make a wide two side little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, so you'll still need then to go to DEP and get their number. We'll send you information, but we're going to continue it for now, okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right, commissioners, why don't we move to continue this because we don't know enough.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson.
I just want
moves-
to, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm not
sorry.
positive that there's a hydrologic connection here. I want to just, I think that this
They
is
still
what
have two phones open.
Commissioner Sargent is talking about. I'm not very confident that there is going to be a hydrologic connection here. This is elevation 92.
Right, where your arrow was, and then
And
the indent, I can't point to it. Right there, that's the outlet.
And you believe it travels here?
It travels down almost adjacent to, you know, if you back off, you can see where the stream is. It goes down to Essex Avenue, and you can clearly see that when you drive by Essex Avenue. And then it goes under Essex Avenue and back of Tony Tally's into a stream that enters by 10 Stanwood down to what we call Red Pier Creek into Little River. I've monitored the area extensively.
All right, we'll have to take a look at it. We still need to continue, but that's odd.
Right, you can drive up Fernwood Lake Avenue as a loop.
I will. We should all take a look. We can. I will.
I mean, what I see here is a pretty steep
Right.
section of ledge.
The applicant's drawing was correct. The city wetland maps are incorrect.
Okay. All right, and Joe, you want to move to continue?
Sure. Sure. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue the hearing for NOI 028, no DEP number at 24 Fernwood Lake Avenue for additional information to the Conservation Commission meeting of May 19th, 2021.
Charpentier seconds?
Need a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yes.
Co-Chair Mandela.
Yes.
And Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
And they're obviously, I mean, I don't, okay, I'm good. All right, so in 2 weeks, we'll see
Excuse
you in
me.
2 weeks.
Actually, we have a DUP number. I find out right now.
Where'd you get it?
We get from the Massachusetts, we have one.
What's the number?
I check right now. I'm gonna send to you.
Here it is.
File number.
It's blank. We're looking at it right now online. There's no number issued yet from the DEP.
DEP.
It's not there.
So, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Just a moment.
Give me 1 minute.
Sure. You can see what's on our screen, right?
Yeah.
Can you see where it says filing date? And then above it says NOI number, nothing, question mark.
Yeah.
In the
If
comments,
you
it
did-
says needs plans.
If you didn't send these to the DEP, they don't even know this exists. So if you send something to,
No, the DEP has this. This is not necessary. None of this is necessary. We've continued the hearing. Thank you.
okay.
It's not
So we'll-
helpful.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I find the DEP number already.
I'm sorry, we have to move on. We've already continued it, unfortunately, legally.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So in
I-
2 weeks, we'll
2
be in
weeks.
touch.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, Bill Cook's gonna recuse himself, but stay online.
Correct. Extension for 28-2523, 16 Bay Bear Lane, Davis Associates, Inc. We're looking for an extension of how long?
3 years. This is the beach management plan that we have, that we've had in place down there. It would have expired in May of this year, but it's been pushed out and we're filing for an extension for 3 years.
Okay. Should we open it for public comment? Adrian, you want to, if anyone wishes to speak towards the extension permit? 20-2523, you may do so now by raising your hand with the raise your hand button or hitting
Okay.
*9 on your tablet or handheld device.
可能係美國個標準啲
There are no public comments at this time.
Okay.
問問佢咯。
You seeing none, hearing none? Why don't we do roll call comments from the commissioner for the Bayberry, 16 Bayberry Lane extension permit?
Okay, commissioner comments, Commissioner Charpentier.
We've voted on this in the past to extend it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Commissioner Cook.
I can't vote.
He's recused.
He's recused.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
I expected Bill Cook to bark, but no comments.
Co-Chairman Gullah,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you. That was no, that was supposed to be no comments.
No, no, no comments. That's right. I forgot what part I was in. Okay, then are we set to close the public hearing?
Yep.
There's no hearing, you just make a motion here, it's consent for a
Oh,
minute.
we asked for public comment, so that was why I thought,
I know.
Okay.
I know. I'm just letting you guys go here.
okay. Then Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the extension for 0282523 at 16 Bayberry Lane.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook is recused, Commissioner Gradwell,
yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody for your service. Bill Cook is returned now to the meeting.
All right, last but not least, RCOC 28-2041, 911 Rogers Street. John Jetta, Gateway Consultants representing, if he's even here.
John.
I am still here, Mr.
Wow.
Chairman. Yeah, so just can answer any questions that you might have. This was a kind of a leftover from a project. You obviously familiar with the Cape Ann Brewing Company when we went through that permitting years ago. Apparently the owner never requested this COC. So that's what's in front of you now.
Okay. Yeah, Joe, you want to move it unless anyone has any comments?
No. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the RCOC 0282041 9-11 Rogers Street.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell. You back there, Barry, where are you?
You, yes,
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah,
Yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. That was a long meeting, everybody. Well done. Oh, that was a tough one.
Yep.
It was. Dave, sorry I jumped on you on the alternatives analysis. I was looking at it when you were looking for it, and the words just kind of fell out.
I appreciate your correcting me on that.
Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
You too now.
Thank you.
everybody stay safe.
Yep. Move to adjourn.
And happy
Second.
Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, happy Cinco de
Okay.
Mayo. Have a
Good
drink.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, no, everybody, we have to roll call this.
Oh,
Motion to adjourn was
Yeah.
made by Co-Chairwoman Jackson and a second by Commissioner Charpentier.
Yep.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullah,
yes.
and Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now we're losing it.
Thanks, everyone.
Adrian?
That was enough. Have a great night. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
everybody.
Good night, all. Adrian?
Night.
Yeah.
I will be sending you pictures, I think, tomorrow of that excavator on Good Harbor.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. we'll have
Okay.
it.
And
I mean,
I've already
At this point,
texted you.
they probably should not have access because,
Well, I've already texted you his contact information, and the fact that he also needs to be aware, he needs the private property owner's permission to do something like that too, in addition to our commission's permission.
oh, yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know who's out there.
You don't know.
Nothing. We'll talk about it offline.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
All right.
to bed.
Thanks a lot, Anto. Take care.
Okay.